I would say for the Godfather movies, watch 1 and 2 if you're going to at some point.
I hear 2 is a masterpiece.
2 is like it set the standard of what a sequel should be for any movie.
2 is good.
Did that come out before Empire though?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, both those. Yeah, both those.
Yeah,
did. Godfather was 70. Godfather was like 73.
Yeah, the Godfather 2, I think, was 75 or 76, wasn't it?
1974. So it's 3 years before Star Wars. That's crazy.
Yeah.
The first one is honestly just boring as all hell.
What?
Yeah,
it's a lot of world. I do agree with that, though.
I've tried 4 times to love that movie with the way everyone wants you to love that movie, and I just am bored to tears every time watching it.
The only movie that bored... Oh, no, I can't hear Dave anymore. The only thing that bored me to tears is The Irishman. That fucking movie is so long.
Yeah, I know. It really pisses you off later on because you like, you know, a lot of guys are saying like, you know, that's not the guy.
I'm really intrigued what Dave just said when he was muted.
Yeah, he's talking to Witch, chatting away.
Yeah, I'm gonna raid Geeks with Kids now because I think you are live. Yes,
we've been live for a little while now.
Oh, so we're streaming on 2 channels.
The Godfather and the Goodfellas movies are so different. The Godfather is like pretty much opera, right?
Yeah.
But Goodfellas and those kinds of movies are about the street level guys.
Yeah.
Has anyone seen the new Sopranos movie thing?
Mm-mm.
No, I have it queued up to watch, but I haven't bothered yet.
What do you got it queued up on? Is it on HBO Max? Oh,
okay. It's on Steve Plus.
I'm making it up right here.
Steve is his own franchise.
Hey, it worked. I rated you. Yay. I rated the podcast.
That's amazing.
I need to stop my music. Okay.
Well, it's not coming through, so it'd be fine.
Does that mean I should? No, I know. Does that mean I should start?
Yeah, whatever.
Start the podcast.
We're chatting. I could have gone to the just chatting thing, but I don't care about. No.
I guess I got to get my Twitter up and running now.
No, you don't. You don't have to do it. No, here's the thing. No one's gonna follow us.
No.
No one's gonna follow us.
You know what? It's funny because we were talking about doing a Halloween episode like before Dave, you brought up Midnight Mass. And like a bunch of there's a couple of like horror studios that have followed us. And I can't like big ones.
Ooh.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
And on that note, welcome to Geeks with Kids, the geeky podcast from a parenting point of view, even though I personally am not a parent.
Don't worry, I'm the only parent here.
I am your host, Dave.
We're your children.
Whatever. Joined by my excellent... I'm trying to introduce you guys. Joined by my excellent co-stars, Eric, Brent, and Hawk. How's everyone doing?
Oh, nice I'm fantastic. I'm all
right. Tired but good.
Existential dread.
Good fellas.
Same old. Existential dread. Yeah. Especially after Midnight Mass.
Oh God.
I thought you were going to do the moth joke.
This is the show that like breaks your brain,
no, it doesn't. I just want to keep it on theme.
Like Steve was really shattered after he watched Black Mirror. Like he was like his soul was like in tatters. Yeah. And I felt kind of bad.
I did too.
I'm going to make a lot of comparisons to this movie throughout it, the movie The Mist, and this show. There's a lot of comparisons to draw when we get into talking about this, but this show filled me with the same sense of dread for the last 3 episodes that the last 10 minutes of The Mist did. I felt that uneasy watching the last 3 episodes.
We're going to talk about Midnight. We're going to talk about Midnight Mass. That's all, folks. We're going to talk about Midnight Mass in depth in a bit, but first, what's good?
What is good?
What's good? What's
Ooh, which one?
What's good?
What's good?
Apparently,
I'll go first.
Yeah, well, Hawk, what's good?
It's a show I had just kind of written off in the background. It's on Apple TV or Apple Plus or whatever you call it. It's the show C, starring Jason Momoa.
C as in SEA?
SEE.
SEE. It's okay. Do you guys know the premise?
Nope.
Set in the future.
All right, I'm familiar. I looked it up last night.
So in a future where humankind has lost the ability to see and is forced to interact in new ways, a set of twins with sight is born, challenging the status quo. Oh, created by Stephen Knight? He did Daredevil, didn't he?
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. This show I could not believe how much I was into the show. I burned through 2 seasons in like the last week. It is fantastic. It has to do, the premise, might people might go for it, people might not. People might think that's a little hokey, and it's the design element around it, and that because they designed everything about these people's culture, and that to reflect the fact that they don't have sight, and the fact that like they're still warring with each other, and that these various little tribes are still warring, and they have to develop new fighting techniques and new warring techniques, and that in order to do that, it's Momoa is fantastic in it.
He's fantastic in everything.
But this show in particular, he has some exceptionally well choreographed like fight sequences, and that.
Does his shirt randomly get ripped? Like, is that the type of show?
You know what? I don't think he went shirtless
shirt?
once.
No,
he didn't go shirtless once throughout this show. If memory.
Well, then I'm not going to watch it. If I don't get some man meat, I'm not interested.
Did I ever tell you about the first time?
Why they wear shirts? No one can see.
The first time Kat watched, what was it? Were we watching Justice League? Yeah, we watched Justice League together. And as soon as Aquaman showed up, she goes, "Oh." And I was like, "Oh no."
Oh no.
He's like, oh my. I was like, oh,
I was thinking of the oh my.
I was like, "You're 7.
Hello.
Stop it." I mean, I understand it's Jason Momoa, but you know.
Come on,
Listen,
you're 7.
You can eye him, but don't oogle him. Not in front of your husband.
No, that was my daughter. My
his
eldest
daughter. He was talking about his daughter.
My eldest daughter.
7 years old.
So when you play Crusader Kings, there'll be like events will pop up, and your character, because you can be heterosexual, homosexual, or bisexual in that game, and you might get an event, and it'll be like oh, you just realized what your sexuality is as the character, and that's what just happened with your daughter.
It's so true. Oh my god,
Eric's real nervous all of a sudden.
I will say, Apple TV, like all their plus programming, the production value is so good on every single show I've seen. Foundation. I've watched a little bit of C.
I need to watch Foundation.
I watched the first season of Servant, and again, excellent production value, good writing, excellent production value. Is pretty crazy.
Like it's only $4.99 for a month for that.
Yeah,
and I find TV shows like the TV shows on there are really good. Mythic Quest is on there, which is hilarious.
Yep, I haven't seen it yet, but it's on my list.
I believe it's specifically if you get a new iPhone, you get Apple for free for a year.
And if you have a PS5,
I would rather shoot my own foot off than get an iPhone.
If you get a PS5, you get 6 months for free as well.
I don't have a gun.
Brent, did you redeem your 6 months for free on PS5? Every PS5 owner
yes, I did.
Yeah. So when you say Apple has like good production values on their thing, they are the 6th highest. They have the 6th highest revenue out of all corporations, I guess, in America.
I don't doubt that.
Or the world, I don't know.
Which, by the way, is higher than all the movie studio, except for Amazon. Amazon's 3rd. Walmart's number 1, by the way. So when you consider, that's the thing is like, these people better have a lot of money for production values because they are one of the richest corporations in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I agree. Agreed.
And I don't know how Apple does it because they only make like one thing and it's way too overpriced, and a very small percentage of the market has it. Is the thing.
But the cult of Apple is very rabid. And
like you think it'd be Samsung because Samsung makes about 80% of the phones that are on the market
and screens for the other ones, right?
Yeah.
For everything else,
and my TV that I'm currently on right now.
Yeah, if you're using anything but a Sony, basically it's a Samsung panel.
Yeah,
or an LG panel. They've
that's true. Yeah, LG, Lucky Gold Star. Anyway,
who's next?
Brent, what's good?
What's good? Not too much. Not too much going on this past week. I think the only real new things that are decent going on is got into New World. Yeah,
Amazon game, FYI, better be good.
Yeah, it's all right. I mean, as far as MMOs go, it's pretty borderline. There's nothing super special about it. Like I think it's one you really gotta play and level up and really get into the PvP to enjoy it, which I haven't really built a character strong enough to do that yet.
Yeah.
But the other thing that is good, it's still new, but because they only had one episode air so far, was the new Chucky show.
Oh, yeah.
very well done first episode. I was shocked. I did not know where they were going to go with this show and how they were going to conceive a television series based on this character. And from what I've seen thus far, and from what I've seen coming down the pipeline based on the cast for the show, who has not yet appeared but are listed as being on the show, it's going to be incredible.
Nice.
Nice.
But yeah, just that first episode alone was just wonderful. It was very reminiscent of the first movie, like very ominous, very dark, but also very comedic.
I know we talked about this last week, or I don't remember when. I think it was last week. But the I know what you did last summer series also started, and it's all right. One episode came out, and it's all right.
Maybe we should do
I thought they were releasing that one all at once.
I didn't.
When's the next episode? The next episode's on. Oh, it's on the 1st, so it's like the day after Halloween.
Yeah. That's why we're doing the Halloween thing now. But I feel like the next one's gonna be Dune. I think
I'm going to see it on Saturday with my buddy.
We might do an extra episode next week just to do Dune.
Excellent.
Because I don't know if I can wait.
I'll have to see Dune this weekend.
I'm going to throw this out there because, like, based on the group chats and everything like that, and I see like the level of how everyone is creaming their pants towards Dune. I'm just going to throw this right out there and say I've never seen Dune.
I'm looking forward to you watching it.
I know absolutely nothing except for the one trailer I saw of it before Shang-Chi.
So you haven't seen like the 84 Dune either?
No,
or
nothing.
The 2000s Dune?
Nothing.
But Eric,
what about absolutely know nothing.
Do you want me to
All
get
I
my
know
DVD
is it takes place in a desert.
of Dune?
I have that over there too.
Wait a minute, you haven't read the book either.
No.
You mean
wow.
This book?
Probably.
It's so old that it's falling
By
apart.
the way, you see how that really thick bullshit there? That book should be half that size because they make science fiction and fantasy books look way thicker because marketing company. Well, you need the appendices in Dune because you have to read you have to look. What's the Bene Gesserit? I don't know. Look it up. What's the Kwisatz Haderach? You got to look it up. They make those books thicker because they think nerds like there's a lot of book in here, and it's a 120 page book, and it's actually 300 pages the way they space it out and everything.
For me, it's just science fiction in general has never appealed to me. Like I want to almost start like a companion podcast, and I'm just going to call Smile and Nod with Brent, because whenever you guys talk about like Dune and Star Trek, and that, I'm literally just sitting back going,
Mm-hmm. It would be great to just all right, and today Dave's going to talk about the Forgotten Realms, and today Steve's going to talk about Warhammer 40K, and today,
I'm talking about Star Wars.
Do you know it would just be
thing you want to talk about? Anime? Huh? I've seen a cartoon.
That's fair.
You say these are made in Japan?
They didn't name it Japanimation?
They did in North America.
They did, I know.
That's what I used to call it until I learned the term.
It's a proper term. It's just not one that's as widely used or as.
I was really into anime like way back in the day. My brother got me into it via Akira, and then my friends got me into it via hentai. So
anyway, Eric, what's good? Eric's got water in his mouth and he can't talk because he's trying not to choke to death because of what Brent just said. For our audio listeners,
it's water, not an octopus tentacle. Don't worry.
There was something I was watching recently that did a total Akira ripoff. That I think we were all watching, and I was like, "Oh, they stole this from it." Was it Injustice, which is not on the What's Good list? It might have been Injustice. What's good? New World is fun. I enjoy playing it with Brent and Stu and a couple other people, which is nice. What else is good? Oh, we got the Dune screener this week.
Really? Because I knew it was available online. It's actually, by the way, Dune's been out in Europe since September 26th.
My friend
actually not just Europe, Taiwan, China, like everywhere.
My friend's in Thailand, and the day it came out, he sent me a picture of him in the theater and was like, "Look what I'm seeing." I was like, "You motherfucker!" It was like a month ago, and I was like, "Okay, fine." He's like, "It's amazing." He's a big Dune fan as well. So I started watching the screener, which is hard coded to us, and it's I watched only a couple minutes, and I was like, I have to watch this in theaters. This movie is going to be a theater.
I'm just fully gone. I'm just going to wait till the theaters. I already have a friend said he watched it and he didn't see that he paid for it online or whatever, I guess.
Yeah.
And he was like, "That's all right," and I'm like, "You don't like anything, so."
I did start watching the 2000s Dune, and I forgot how the order was.
It's closer to the source material. The problem is that the production values are terrible.
Sci-fi 2000s, so
yeah. I love I love a lot of things about it. Like I like their Gurney Halleck. I like their Muad'Dib. I love people. James McAvoy plays Leto II in the in Children of Dune. He's Susan Sarandon is Jessica, right?
Yeah.
Lady Jessica, like the mother of Paul and and John Hurt.
No, John Hurt was in the first one. He's
he plays the Duke.
Yeah.
And he's all right. He's a little softer than I can never remember that guy's name. Anyway,
it's a good thing. That's not what was actually good. Fuck, I forgot what I was gonna put. Let's just say, that's good.
Is that your daughter realized that she's into really buff-looking dudes? Is that?
No, I think it's just Jason Momoa.
It was just Jason Momoa.
In general, he has that twinkle in his eyes. He has the smile. You gotta love Jason Momoa.
Is there sexuality for only being attracted to Jason Momoa?
Yes.
Like, I'm fine with that. Polynesian, cool, nice dude. Like, I'm fine with that.
Sexuality is a spectrum.
Yep.
So, it's not just like left, this or that.
But but if that spectrum is narrowed down to
Ryan Reynolds.
There you go.
Yeah.
I also got the Boba Fett Lego ship, is what I was going to say.
But it's not. It's just Boba Fett's ship, right? Or they call it Fire Spray or something.
Now it's officially now called the Fire Spray, which I really dislike. But the ship is cool.
That's the thing, is the canon reason for the ship being named that is gone.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense not to call it Slave 1 and Slave 2 anymore, because without the context of calling the ship that, all of a sudden it's like, well, that's a really shitty name for a ship, isn't it?
Well, he's a bounty hunter.
Yeah, but he's not a slaver. We also don't even call like computer parts like master and slave anymore, right? Now they call it like the dominant drive and like the sub drive,
or just drive 1 or drive 2.
What's the
primary drive?
What it's like overclock me harder, daddy, or something like that.
So it's like a BDSM couple.
Yeah.
Other than that, I've been playing Far Cry 6, which is all right, and
it's only all right.
It's a Far Cry game. It's Far Cry.
It's Far Cry.
Far Cry 3 was like revolutionary. And
Far Cry
5
3
is pretty good.
Far Cry 4 was also really good.
Didn't play it.
I'd say this one's closest to 4.
4? Okay. Well, I just, it's not that I didn't get like 4. It's just I only had it on PlayStation, and I'm like, I'm a PC gamer, so.
New Dawn was really good.
New Dawn was fantastic.
Blood Dragon
was also fantastic. This is it's all right. It's the same. It's just really, Ubisoft is getting to this point where everything's really big, and I just don't want to travel a giant map, like just to do one thing. Like it takes.
And there's no elephants in this one, right?
That's what killed me with Valhalla. Was I couldn't take another like. I know myself. I know if I sit down and play that, I'm going to want to do everything. I'm going to want to get the platinum. I'm going to want to go crazy. And I'm like, I just can't commit myself to another 100 hours to another Ubisoft game right now. I'm thinking Far Cry is going to be the same thing, where I'm just going to be like, I just can't do it. So
this one this one you can ride a zebra. So,
well, you can also have a chicken kill people for you, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
You
start with an alligator.
I have a robot dog, but they're chicken fights and stuff.
Robot dog, like in Fallout 2, the robot dog.
It's like the blood. It's like the Blood Dragon one.
I did see that was an aspect in the game that you can do cockfighting in the game, and I'm like, who okayed this?
Well, everybody who's okay with Pokemon.
But at the end, we've all come to the assessment that at least Pokemon at the end, they're injured. You put them back in the ball, you bring them to the health center, you heal them up, they're fine. Then it's two animals pecking each other to death.
Yeah, you eat the chicken. It's also not real, right?
I know, but
okay. Wait. Let's back up. You're worried about two fictional animals beating each other to death. You're totally fine with I'm going to murder all these people.
Yes,
in Far Cry, but two chickens who are carnivores killing each other. Okay.
Because have you ever
They
played
don't kill
those
each
games
other.
and
So they don't kill each other. In the
but
game.
I like kicking chickens in those games, and I can't kick them if they kill each other.
They don't kill each other. They just one wins and then they take the chicken away. That's
They
all.
shake hands and go on.
Tasting the game, going, this isn't the right kind of sociopathy for me.
Anyway, Far Cry 6. All right.
Okay.
I don't think we're gonna do a review on it. I don't think we're gonna care enough.
No.
Well, we can.
I'll give you a review right now for my What's Good, which is Back 4 Blood. It's so fucking good. It's so good. It's so.
I know
good.
little to
so
nothing about this game.
All right, Hawk.
It's downloading right now.
Do you remember a little game on Steam called Left 4 Dead?
I think it was on PS3 as well, was it not?
Yeah,
it was on Xbox 360. I don't think it was on PS3. It was on it's PC. I really don't think it made it to PS because back then, like Microsoft, actually no, Turtle Rock wasn't owned by Microsoft yet. So Turtle Rock Studios made Left 4 Dead, and then they got bought by Valve, and then a Valve team made Left 4 Dead 2. So Turtle Rock didn't really have ownership anymore of Left 4 Dead. And to be fair, a lot of people didn't like some of the changes in Left 4 Dead 2. I loved Left 4 Dead 2. And then people have been saying, we need a sequel. Where's the third game? Valve just doesn't make games with a 3 in the title. What the hell?
They don't make games anymore.
Because Left 4 Dead was huge. Like, it's had a great modding community. Like, people still mod it to this day. And then Turtle Rock, I think right after Left 4 Dead 2 released, or maybe a little bit after, they went, hey, we don't want to be owned by you. So we're going to buy ourselves back. But they didn't get to keep their property, which was Left 4 Dead. And then they did Evolve. By the way, Matt Colville wrote these games of MCDM, who's like my hero. Like the guy who's created like the best 5th edition D&D content. So then they made Evolve. That didn't. He wrote all of Evolve. Yeah. He wrote, I think, part of Left 4 Dead. I don't know. And then they did a bunch of like VR games. And then Back 4 Blood is like a return to form, where it's like they don't own Left 4 Dead, so it's totally new stuff, right? But the gameplay, the core mechanics of there's a bunch of zombies, there's some special zombies, there's 4 of you, and you gotta shoot the shit out of them all and get to like the checkpoint. But this game takes that and puts some nice spins on it, where in Left 4 Dead there was like 6 or 7 different infected. This game, it's like, hey, there's this thing, and then it splits into 2 different kinds. There's the card system, which is the real unique thing about this game, and it makes every playthrough different. So there's cards to modify. You build a deck, and then each new area you go through, you pick a new card, but then like the AI gets a new card to like fuck with you. So it might be like, oh, now there's armored enemies, or this kind of thing, there's going to be more of them, or like whatever. Oh, there's fog now, or there's way more birds, and the birds, they scare, and then they bring more zombies or whatever. And then there's loot. Like Left 4 Dead was like, hey, I got my shotgun and I got all the ammo for my shotgun, and that's it. This game is like, hey, you're progressing through. You're going to get attachments for your weapons. You're going to get better attachments. Oh, the level's getting harder. You're going to need a gun that does more damage. So there's like in Diablo, where there's like, hey, there's a gray item, then a blue, or green, then blue, then like they have that. So you have to keep cycling through new gear so that you're not just getting, hey, I got my favorite kind of weapon. Like, oh, I just like this kind of shotgun. That's all. It's like, no. You're going to have to find something else and use it. So you really feel like it's got a little bit of that BR scavenging element to it. It just keeps the game moving. It keeps the pace flowing. It's got just enough of that looter shooter feel of it where you're like, do I take this? Do I take that? Or like, people keep trying to find ways to like change attachments out, and people are just asking the devs like, hey, can you just let us do whatever you want? It's like, no, that's part of the game, is that you have to like just get through the level with what you've got and hope to find stuff along the way.
Yeah.
And it's all randomized. Like certain doors will become like certain paths will unlock, or there'll be like locked doors that you need special kits to open, and then inside there's better loot. So it's got it's kind of like a roguelike, because you only get 2 tries, and the game is very difficult. Like on the lowest setting right now, it's pretty breezy because they've lowered it a little bit. But like my friends and I aren't even touching like the veteran setting, which is like normal. because it is so difficult.
You said roguelike, and Brent's little light bulb just went bing.
Yeah, it kind of is. I mean, like, there's this, and unlike Left 4 Dead, which did have a story, but it was like it was like a movie. You would play a movie. It's like, okay, you got to get from point A to point B 5 times. This game goes, you got to do that. There's objectives, like hold out certain areas, right? There's the first big thing is you fire an artillery to close a tunnel because the infected are getting through. That's like the big, denouement. But there's a whole chapter, or there's 4 chapters, I think, or 4 acts or whatever. And then each have a different number of levels within them. And sometimes it actually involves some backtracking, which never happened in Left 4 Dead before. There was just I think there were 4 like movies, and then each had 5 chapters within them.
Yep.
Now we have I think technically less, or maybe still 20. But you I just hit quick play and I just go in and I play around. Nice. But you can play the whole story from start to finish too if you want. And then on top of the cards, characters have different abilities, so you got to pick different characters. And I'm having a blast.
Yeah, and I think what's great is that you can go on Twitch and go to Arc Revenant, and watch someone that we know that we love near and dear to us stream it, and maybe a Geeks with Kids and a Rabin will also show up on there as well.
I think so. Honestly, the game could be called Grandma's Knitting Circle. I could care less. I just the group of people that I used to play all my games with. None of them really seem to want to play anything anymore. So I just need a new game and a new group of people so I can sit down and just have some fun with the multiplayer.
Yeah. You got some new people with New World. You got some new people with Back 4 Blood. We got it.
The nice thing about this is that you can jump in and out in Back 4 Blood. You don't have to slot. You don't have to. No, that's the thing. MMOs you have to stick to. This game you can jump in and out.
And anyway. Like you said with New World, it needs some kind of mount system.
You need a mount. Oh my god, it takes forever to go a kilometer.
Although I was playing a little bit earlier, and now I've got enough fast travel points, enough of that material saved up, that I'm able to kind of ping pong back and forth pretty easily now.
I did that too much.
But that's really hard in the game to really get going in that one, because you have to walk everywhere.
Yeah. For Back 4 Blood, are you using keyboard and mouse or controller?
Yeah.
I know the option is there for both.
Well, it's on every console. It's on PS4, PS5, Xbox, everything but Xbox 360, basically. It's not on Switch. It's not on Switch. And you can get it on Game Pass. It's a part of the subscription to Game Pass right now, and it's totally crossplay, which is awesome. You can trigger
cross-platform.
And cross-platform, everything works. My friends play on Game Pass. I'm playing on Steam. One of my buddies I was playing with today, actually, was streaming right before the podcast, and he said, "I'm only going to play this game with a controller from now on." And I said, "Man, whatever. It's got good aim assist. It's got whatever you need." You have to remember, these people made Left 4 Dead. The same person who directed this game is the president of Turtle Rock Studio. He's the one who directed Left 4 Dead. He's been Turtle Rock this whole time. He was one of the founders of the company. These guys are console gamers. They play everything. So they're not going to skimp on making sure it feels good on console and it just feels good on PC. This game runs great on everything. The minimum spec is supposed to be a 970. That's what, a 5-6-year-old card now?
That's older than that, isn't it?
The recommended, if I'm not mistaken, actually, I'm sorry, no, the minimum is a 1050, and a 1050 is a new card, but a 1050 is new but very weak in terms of power. Yeah. 970 is the recommended, which is a very powerful card, but from many years ago. So this will run on anything. If you've got a brick. And it looks good on I just set all my settings down to the lowest and it still looks great. I want to get 60 frames.
The 970 was released in 2014. That was the year after I got married.
Yeah, so that's 7 years old. And it runs just fine. I have a 1060, runs just fine.
So Hawk, are we wetting your whistle with this game? That's the thing. It's on PS4.
You can play it on PS4, Hawk?
Maybe.
Yeah, because you friend each other. It's published by WB, so WB's doing their own it's not a launcher, but they have their own network now. So if you friend each other through WB,
I think it's all cross-platform that way, right?
Yeah.
Then we just chat on Discord and play.
Nice.
Well, there's also in-game chat. Yeah. So it doesn't matter what platform you're on. You can all talk in game. You can do open mic and do whatever you want.
Open mic. Let me know if I start. Let me know if I start like cutting or crapping out internet. It's downloading in the background right now, and I have a really crappy internet here. So.
I had news. I think we're going to skip the news because we talked about a lot of stuff.
We can go into the news like really quick. Like
okay. So
Colin Powell.
Unfortunately, Colin Powell, the first black,
first African American.
I'm sorry,
Secretary of State. Yes.
Secretary of State. He was, I think, 85. Unfortunately, due to complications with COVID, but he also had a rare kind of blood cancer, I believe it was.
That's rough.
But he also was the Secretary of State under George W. Bush, who, if you remember, was not our favorite president at the time.
Mm-hmm. No, and was basically asked to lie into Congress and that to get them into a war.
Yeah, he is the one who probably put my whole generation through just a lifetime of war. So
20 years.
What a legacy. Rest in peace.
News. We didn't actually have to talk about him.
Elden Ring was delayed a month. That is the collaboration between Souls creator Hidetaka Miyazaki, thank you, and George R. R. Martin. On the bright side, you can register for the beta, which is coming in November. So you can register for the beta now, and it will be out in November.
However, it's not guaranteed that you get the beta.
Yeah,
you're basically entering your
throw your hats in.
It's a free thing. Don't complain.
I know. I will take every opportunity. Especially, I had no idea until you mentioned earlier that it was delayed a month.
It's delayed a month. Yeah, they didn't. Both announcements.
I was mad.
If all else fails, I'll try and contact our rep over there and try and get a beta code. Ready?
Hey, that gets me. If anything, though, that gives me like an extra month now to finish my Miyazaki playthrough because I've been really like slacking on that.
There you go.
Yeah.
But don't worry, we still got I would say the two biggest releases coming out this month are Guardians of the Galaxy on October 26th. I don't know anybody who's excited for it, but it's coming out, so you can play it. And this, if I had a Switch, I'd be super excited. Mario Party Superstars on October 29th.
That game pisses me off because I bought Mario Party for the Switch, and now they're releasing every single board in this game. I'm like, fuck you. Thank you for making me have to buy this again.
Dude, I loved Mario Party on the N64 back in the day. Yeah, and it's the day after my birthday, my best friend's birthday. Happy birthday, Jake. Dune has already been released outside of North America, which we already talked about. It will be released here on the 21st. I don't know if this is good or bad. It's made $120 million US in its box office so far. That's basically only international.
That's not bad.
Yeah. Halloween Kills was basically in second place. Actually, I think it was in first place.
It was in first place
in North America.
It
made just over $50 million USD in its opening weekend, having released on Friday, which was the 15th. It's horror, baby. It's horror. I mean,
I loved it.
Yeah,
I absolutely loved it.
I've been hearing is that No Time to Die, and I mean, No Time to Die also just came out, but that was 2 weeks ago now. Yeah. They did around 25 million. That and Venom, Let There Be Carnage, both did about 25 million over the weekend.
That I'm surprised about James Bond at least.
The No Time to Die actually has taken him 475 around the world.
Oh, that's not bad.
It's not bad.
Yeah, so
it's not bad. DC Fandom was this weekend as well. We got a trailer for the Peacemaker series starring John Cena.
So good.
We got a trailer for The Batman starring Robert Pattinson as The Batman. And The Flash starring Batman. I mean Ezra Miller and Michael Keaton's Batman. It's got Michael Keaton's Batman.
He's in there too somewhere.
You also get to see Supergirl in that trailer too.
That's true. There's two Flashes at least.
Two Flashes, yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, what could it be?
That would.
Yeah, sorry. Go for it, Hawk.
That was the best thing that happened this weekend, and it really kind of ignites the flame about what's possible in the DC filmdom going forward. And that,
if they just do what the comics did, maybe they'll make some. Well,
they said that Flashpoint, and they rebranded this the DCEU.
It's now the multiverse.
Now it's the multiverse. So everything that's come before is canon.
It's all one. Yeah,
it all works now. Right,
it's like when
guys?
I run a D&D game and I find a way to shoehorn an old adventure in.
They also showed like a featurette for Black Adam and some not test footage, but a teaser for Black Adam, which has been in production or in pre-production since I was in diapers. Actually, I don't know if you're aware. I was in
diapers just 3 years ago.
It was in 2007 when they first announced Black Adam with The Rock. That was
2007.
The year before
You're joking.
Iron Man. The year before Iron Man.
I hadn't even I didn't even thought about going to college in 2007. I was just working full time out of high school.
And then they also showed the behind the scenes of the new Aquaman something of the Lost Kingdom.
Does it have Amber Heard?
Yes, it does. Unfortunately,
then I'm not interested in watching it.
It looks really good though. I like Jason Momoa.
I posted, sure, and I like the last one was fun. I just posted in our Discord that right, like Mel Gibson is going to be the star apparently of the Continental, and I'm like, I'm out.
Yeah.
No. He's one of the stars, but
one
he's
of the
not
stars.
the main.
Great.
He's not the main.
Great.
Dude.
Stop putting awful people that we know are awful people who are unrepentant in your stuff. They are like we know Mel Gibson is a toxic individual. Like we know he is, and he's unrepentant for it, and they still want to put him in stuff. And it just, I'm not interested anymore. And you can separate the artist from the art, but like you're also like giving fuel. You're like, hey, you know who needs more money? Someone who's an anti-Semite.
Yeah.
Someone who treats women like the way Mel Gibson. Yeah, like just a terrible person.
I'm trying to think if there's any other news that's.
I'm waiting for. I'm getting an email like Mel Gibson's lawyer would like to speak with you for slander.
Indiana Jones got delayed a year.
Wait, you think I'm not going to get anyone on Twitter, but you're going to get an email from Mel Gibson?
Well, I stream, Brent. I have a following of 2 people. One of them is only one of them is related to me.
Well, I follow you.
Yeah, you're not really. You're not. Yeah, but the other one's my brother.
Oh yeah,
I follow you.
Yeah, that's not what I mean.
Yeah. So also, so Indiana Jones 5 got delayed a year, and I know.
It's like, just make the movie next year.
Is he going to be alive by the time they finish this?
Oh, Harrison Ford's never going to die. No.
Oh my god! He's just going to keep getting older and older.
Here's, you know what we should mention? Michael Caine.
Michael Caine.
Michael Caine. He retired from
Caine.
acting. He said he made his last film. Yeah, he said he's done.
It's weird because he also came, he also kind of went back on it, but said now he's going to be focusing on writing instead of acting.
He's also 88.
Is he writing his obituary?
I don't know.
God.
Who starts writing when they're 88?
I'll be honest. I would read a Michael Caine autobiography. Yeah. So I hope he would do one of those. Probably several, because 88 years is a lot of pages.
You were only supposed to blow the bloody doors.
He said he's not. I haven't retired, and all people know that. That's a bad accent.
Are you Georgian? Like,
oh man,
not anyway. Like the country of Georgia, but the county. Like.
Yeah.
This is really going to put a hit on the Caine Hackman theory.
The Caine.
That they're the same person.
No one got that reference. No, I didn't think anyone would.
I don't know.
Did anyone else feel something just blow over their head?
One last news thing. FX has canceled Y the Last Man 2 episodes before the finale, which makes me really sad.
No, if only they'd made an interesting show.
It was an interesting show. God damn it.
If only they could have made something that was timely.
What they shouldn't have done is release it during a pandemic.
Let's be fair, that's not why things fail.
It is.
Plenty of other shows have done just fine during the pandemic.
No.
Speaking of shows that have done just fine during the pandemic,
I said Ted Lasso's doing great, even though it ends next year.
Also, FX is not a great network.
Excuse me, Mr. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, one of the greatest shows ever made.
That's fair.
I've also been watching clips of The League on YouTube because I never watched it. It's really fun.
You've never seen The League?
It's amazing.
Have you never seen it? I was in college when it was on, so.
As much as I'm with you on the whole Amber Heard Mel Gibson thing, and as much as I almost can't rewatch The League because of the one guy in it, the Steve Raza, whatever his name is. Did anyone hear that story that he came out and told the story that he was in one of the buildings on 9/11 and escaped as it was collapsing, and then 7 years later, someone pointed out, "No, you weren't," and he went. You're right, I wasn't. It was all a lie to make myself more famous. I'm sorry.
Wait, no. That's a thing they say in an episode of The League, though. I just saw that clip.
Yeah, no, the actual actor.
Oh my god.
Like the real guy did that for years. He lied about being in one of the towers on 9/11.
That's stolen valor.
That's terrible.
There's a 20-minute video of him on Howard Stern basically just sitting there with the most broken look on his face going like, I am so sorry, everybody.
Oh, back for blood, bro.
He admitted this 6 years ago.
That's terrible.
Wow.
One more news item. Sorry, Brett. Sorry.
What?
Yeah, no, I'm pausing because I see it.
Marvel has delayed a number of its films. from Phase 4. Yeah. So not by much. Like Doctor Strange coming out in May instead of March. Then Thor comes out in July. And then Black Panther in November. Then in 2023 we get the Marvels Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, and then an untitled Marvel movie. Possibly Blade? Who knows?
Possibly.
I'm not surprised. Like for how much the because of the pandemic, everything was so crammed together for the next like the release schedule for the next few years. I'm not shocked at all. Mm-hmm. I kept expecting them to make an announcement that Spider-Man was going to get pushed to next year.
Oh, so soon. It's so soon.
We gotta talk about Midnight Mass here because we all want to talk about it, and we're just gonna talk about other stuff if we don't move on. Mm-hmm. So, Midnight Mass, which premiered on Netflix 3 weeks ago now,
September 24th,
was one of the top 10 trending, like it probably still is. It's the latest from the horror auteur Mike Flanagan, whom you might know from his other works on Netflix, such as The Haunting of Hill House or The Haunting of Bly Manor, or maybe a little film that you've heard, sequel to The Shining. It's called Dr. Sleep, starring Ewan McGregor, which I recently watched and is very good.
It's awesome.
Midnight Mass features familiar Flanagan collaborators such as Kate Siegel, Henry Thomas, Samantha Sloyan, Rahul Kohli, Alex Esso, Robert Longstreet, as well as some new faces, including Zach Gilford, Kristen Lehman, Igby Rigney, Anara Simone, Annabeth Gish, Rahul Aburi, and I mean, let's not forget Hamish Linklater. The ensemble on the show is B.I.G. big.
It's no longer in the top 10 for Canada, unfortunately. But Hellboy is.
Doesn't belong there compared to this show. Hellboy is.
Hellboy.
And I didn't hate Hellboy.
No,
but...
the new Hellboy, the one with what's his?
Yeah,
what the fuck? Hellboy?
Hopper.
Canada.
Here's the thing. I already got you all to watch it. That's why we're all in Canada. I got my mom to watch Midnight Mass.
I sincerely contemplated getting my parents into that show because I think they would really like it until the end of the first episode, and then they would look at me like, "What the fuck are you making us watch?"
Oh, I did not realize Carla Gugino was in this series.
What? Wait, no, really?
Yeah.
She played the judge.
Yeah, she was in like one scene.
Yeah. In the first episode. Yeah. That's crazy.
Oh, you know why? 'Cause she was in The Haunting of Hill House. I don't think she's in Bly Manor.
She was in the Hill House. She was in Bly Manor.
She's the mom in Hill House, I think.
Yeah.
Because the mom, that's the whole story. Is like the mom died, whatever.
So thank you for making me watch. Sorry. Thank you for making me watch this and then making me watch Hill House because I'm not making you watch anything. I hate ghosts.
I didn't like Hill House. I didn't finish it. I didn't like Bly Manor. I liked parts of Bly Manor. I loved Rahul Kohli in Bly Manor. I loved his character starting the chef. It's fantastic.
I haven't seen it.
By the end though, I went, oh my god, no. But it's based on something, so
Hill House is actually quite good, despite it being about ghosts.
Honestly,
that's probably my next watch will be Hill House. After
have you watched Dr. Sleep?
So good.
No.
Dr. Sleep is really good.
We did a review on it a year ago, and it's actually better than the book, the movie. There are parts that are better than the book.
I'll probably watch it eventually. It honestly just never really interested me.
Really
The Shining was
The
Shining in and of itself was never one of my favorites.
It's not like The Shining, but it definitely it pulls on a lot of things, obviously, because it's the sequel to The Shining, so a lot of elements do come out, but it's not just like a sequel to The Shining.
Yeah,
it really is it's very much a standalone story, actually.
Yeah. I just in general supernatural elements and stuff like that, that's not the kind of horror I usually like. I'm much more visceral, in your face kind of horror.
Halloween Kills, maybe?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Silent Man kills teenagers.
Silent Man kills teenagers, then Jeff Bezos sends to space.
Existential horror. So we're probably gonna have to pick it up, but we're gonna go episode by episode. There's only 7 episodes in the show, which compared to a lot of Flanagan's other stuff, or at least his other series, it's very tight. And this show is a slow burn, which sounds weird that I say it's a tight show, but it's a slow burn. It is. I've heard it compared to like putting tension on a bow, where you're drawing the tension out, and then once you hit your maximum threshold, if it's a 120-pound bow, you hit 120 pounds, and then you let it go, and that's exactly what this show does.
It
fires off an arrow. Yeah,
that's I said earlier. The best way that I can say to describe this is this entire series was the last 10 minutes of The Mist, just stretched out over a 7-episode series.
Maybe the last 15.
There's so much more to it than that. The tension and the slow burn comes from like the monologuing and that. It's like it really gives the actors a chance to kind of stretch their characters out and like let them find their feet. And it takes us into their world because everybody on this little small community island and that has their own perspective and that. And Mike Flanagan allows everybody to kind of get their voice in.
Well, let's jump into that because the first episode is called Book 1 Genesis. So each episode is like Book 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then they're all given a name, more or less from a biblical thing. Not necessarily a book from the Bible, but Book 1 is Genesis. So the story centers around Riley Flynn. He returns home to his family dysfunction, familiar faces, and a new priest of St. Patrick's. Elsewhere on the island, a storm is brewing. So it centers on this like man in his 30s, maybe late 20s. He's unfortunately he's in a drunk driving accident. He's the drunk driver and he kills someone. He goes to prison. He comes back to his family. Obviously the island's changed. Times are tough because the way things move on in manufacturing in North America or fishing and things like that. So everybody on the island's kind of having a harder time than they were. And this is all drawn out through the episode. It's kind of subtle. It's not like super in your face. Like they walk by a house and she's like, "Oh yeah, the Millers left last year. That house, blah, blah, blah." And it's kind of in the background of the first episode because they talk about this, their priest. Oh, the priest is supposed to be arriving today. And you see a different priest arriving. And he's got this mysterious trunk with him. And that's kind of all we learn about this new priest in this first episode. But we get a lot of stuff about Riley Flynn and his whole family. His father's a fisherman. His mother is very like doting on him. Yeah. And both his brother and his father have kind of shunned him a little bit. Like they don't want to be there when he arrives. And he's haunted by what he's done. Like we see that right away.
And like quite literally
the whole episode. Yeah.
And this made me think, this is going to be a show about, it's going to be another ghost story. It's going to be another ghost story like his other ghost stories, and he's haunted, and this is what's going to haunt him. And it really feels like, that's the Mike Flanagan. Okay, that's his thing. He does ghost stories. Okay, and it's very good. And as we go through, you're going to find out that's not what the show is about.
What's funny is that that's not what I thought when I saw the ghost. I thought it was more. So I hadn't watched any of the Mike Flanagan stuff prior to this series, and just based on how the series opened and like how strong the religious overtones were in just like the first 5 minutes, I assumed the show was going towards a Kevin Smith Red State type thing where guilt and that type of Catholic guilt, especially for these people growing up in a very Catholic community, would play such a big forefront of this. And then
especially because he's killed someone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So you initially he's going to be looking for forgiveness. Yeah. And already right away you see his father is not interested in forgiving him. His nobody else on the island is there to talk to him, right?
Yeah. And especially when you especially when you grow up in these small town like super religious communities, a lot of altruism, a lot of, I don't want to say fascism. That's not the right word, but
you're not entirely wrong.
It's all encompassing in that, and it's like, yes, he does come back. He does feel a lot of guilt, but he's also very unsure about like his place in this island and that. I mean, like there's that scene with the father where the father tells him, "Don't accept the Eucharist," and that you have no right to do that. Yeah. So he hangs back.
I'm gonna tell you something real quick. I went to a funeral many years ago for a friend's grandparent, and I hadn't been to church in a long time. And I went up to go get Eucharist, and I mean, maybe, I don't know if we have a lot of Catholics who watch this or whatever, they might get mad at me. And I went, and my stepdad, who's not religious at all, he goes, you can't go up. You haven't had confession. And I just went, I was like 20. I went, what have I done wrong?
I didn't realize that confession was part of this. Like as a Catholic, I didn't realize.
You're not supposed to get the Eucharist unless you've had confession.
Yeah. You're supposed to absolve you absolve yourself of your sins before you can allow Jesus into you.
Yeah.
Every time? You know how many times I'd have to go to confession?
Yeah. Yes. They want you to go to confession a lot, actually.
But they don't. They don't like. They're kind of loose a little bit with some churches about like how often you go to confession. Like more often than not, what they really want is they want to see you physically in church.
Yeah.
And
they do that in this
form of confession and repentance.
They actually touch upon that in this a lot.
Yeah.
And having like I live in Guelph, obviously, which is not a big town.
Obviously, you live in Guelph. There's the Guelph sign right behind you.
Well, we've talked about it many times on this show. But
I know.
the communities more north of me that are smaller and very religious, like they're Mennonites and other small like super religious. I don't want it's sects, I guess.
Sects, yeah, sects,
yeah,
sects.
Sects.
But like even like I've gone up to these communities and just to see like the parallels of like they're smaller, so they're a lot of their industries are going away. So I can see a lot of this happening there. Like this farming country, like all north of me, and like we're getting into more corporations are doing more farming, so they're losing out on a lot of that. A lot of the meat farmers or the crops they're not as profitable for these people. So you'll see a lot of these farms just abandoned and whatnot, like the fisheries there. And the churches apparently aren't as packed as they used to be because the people are moving away like they are in the show. So there's a lot of parallels to real life, which is crazy, and especially small town Canada, US.
The island, so it's Crockett Island is the name of the island in the show, and it's based on a real island off the coast of Virginia, which is sinking. It is disappearing, and they kind of talk about that in the show where near the end of the first episode, there's a bunch of kids. They go, I think, get some beer or something like that.
Pot.
And it's a pot. I think they also have alcohol.
No, they have drinks too.
Yeah. And the one kid, he's like, I hear like when the tide comes in or whatever, all the people who were buried, they're like all the dirt's being washed away, so their skeletons float up. And the other kid goes, that happens on my front lawn. Thanks. Like, he's like, that's my side of the island. Like, this place is so small, you can walk to the each side of the island probably like 20 minutes or something. And,
wasn't that like something of why all the cats were out there too? Like there were so many cats on that little offset because they couldn't get packed across. Or I remember that like
I don't know. I think once I figured out what the show is about, I realized exactly what happened to those cats.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but I just mean like why there were so many on that little offset where they were, because like I mean we'll get to what happens. To the cats
you have
later,
to remember
but
that rats can swim really well, so rats don't care, right? They like if there's scraps, they'll go dig up whatever. So it's just quite possible there's a lot of rats on that side, and then the cats go where the rats are.
Yeah.
I will also say about this first episode is that Mike Flanagan did an amazing job at introducing each of these characters, because by the end of it, I knew who each of these people were and where they stood in life. And
it's very impressive for a show which not necessarily intentionally, but it's mostly full of white people.
Mm-hmm.
And like exactly what each of these different white people are up to.
What I was most impressed about is the fact that like by the end of the first episode, I legitimately like sat back and went like, I can't tell who the main character of the show is, like who the focus of the show. And then I realized really quickly, I'm like, that's the point. There is none.
Yeah.
Like there is no main character.
You might think early on. You might think early on that it's the Flynn boy, but then
Riley.
Okay.
Like you think it's him, or you think it's the priest, or you think it's like the pregnant woman,
or you think it's the sheriff, right? Because the sheriff has plenty of screen time.
Yeah, and then eventually I just realized it's not. It's about like the community.
It's the community for sure.
Yes. It's very well done.
Yeah.
Also, the naming of this as Genesis is a great like parallel to where their journey's going to, right? Because it's the people coming together and like going off and to their journey.
Pairing?
The pairing, yeah.
Pairing?
Yeah. The naming is perfect in each of these episodes.
Well, I mean, they're all... I mean, yeah, it's easy to name something usually once you've...
Yeah.
But Mike Flanagan, apparently this is the thing he's worked on the longest. Like, this has been in his mind, like, since whenever he started writing. And I guess he started making content. Like, he started making, like Spielberg. Like, he was, like, 6. And he's like, I got a camera! And he's, like, running around. So episode 2 is called Book 2 Psalms. And they go really heavy into, like, explaining, like, what psalm... Like, it's in this episode where the
it's literally
new Monsignor, the new priest. Yeah, like, it's all unpacked for you. But an unsettling omen washes ashore in the wake of the storm, which, spoiler, which we're kind of spoiling the show, is...
Do we just, like, go right ahead and just...
spoiler
review,
Like, I think we all loved this show.
No, we can't talk about it if we don't spoil it.
You gotta watch it. Pause this, go watch 7 hours, well, a little under 7, of this show.
It'll feel like less. It'll go
feel your soul leave your body, Get your soul back in the body, come back, finish the episode. And and then suddenly Ullman washes ashore in the wake of the storm. So all the cats on the island are like dead and somewhat mutilated. Later, the locals gather for a potluck. Tragedy strikes and a miracle occurs. So there's an annual potluck, and you're getting what's her name? What is her name?
Bev Caine.
Bev Caine. Everybody hates Bev Caine.
She was honestly one of my favorite characters because of just
she's the Joffrey of this show, right?
Just watching the evolution of her from the beginning. It's another one where I'll make a comparison to The Mist. Marcia Gay Harden's character in The Mist was incredible. And it was like getting to see that stretched out and really getting to play it out and really getting like a nuanced version of it.
Samantha
she was
Sloyan,
unbelievable.
Just phenomenal actress. Like that.
Because at first I was just like, I didn't know whether or not I hated her or was just mildly annoyed by her. Oh, she's just that annoying woman who runs a church.
She's like that just super evangelical, right-wing Christian that's just so self-righteous all the time, and you're just like, oh my God.
Can't be wrong, right? And can't be wrong.
And then as we learn, there's like way more to. There's way more to that deviousness to her, and that you know,
and not only that, but like just like we learn how much fear she has as the story goes on too. Like
when she's talking to the sheriff about the rat poison, and she's like, "Oh, you're not just saying so it's me, are you? You know, because I would be devastated." And that whole spiel, I was just saying, "I was like, I hate you so much. I hate you so much."
There's a word for people like her, and we won't say it on here.
Well, we'll see you next Tuesday.
Yeah. She is the worst. And it takes, honestly, a phenomenal actor to do that. It's actually, I think it's actually sad that, I can't remember his name right now, but the kid who played Joffrey, he retired from acting after Game of Thrones. Because he's a wonderful actor. It's just unfortunate that people can't, dissociate the actor from the role when they play something, because that's iconic. Like, this is a role of a lifetime to play someone this evil, basically.
He didn't retire. He just doesn't do any big projects anymore.
Oh, fair enough. Okay.
I thought he did officially retire.
Well,
no, he came back. He came back this year or last year or something.
Okay.
Oh, he also probably made more than enough money as a young man that he probably could just like.
Also, he's in Batman Begins, so he already has that money too, right?
Oh, I'm sure there's all his whole $150 one day paycheck.
Yeah. Those two scenes he did. Jack Gleason, by the way.
Gleason,
yeah, which makes him sound like he's from the 40s, but
he has that
Jackie
soul.
Gleason.
Yeah.
So anyway, Joe Colley's dog.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's I mean, it's a lot to explain, I guess, but there's a drunk in the town. The drunk is the reason. There's a girl who's paralyzed. He's the reason she's paralyzed. And everybody kind of hates this guy, but at the same time, like, he's a part of the community. But Bev Caine is very intent on controlling this community and molding it into what she wants it to be.
Like, in a weird way, she was as paralyzing to the community as anybody else in that. Like, from what we learned is that there was this tragedy around the island, and that there was an oil spill that killed off a lot of the fishing. There was a settlement from the company responsible for the oil spill, but she managed to convince a lot of people to donate large portions of that settlement to the Catholic Church, and that which she embezzled, but did still put up enough to put up a rec center in that and say call it even in that, even though she kept most of that money.
Yeah, but she's terrible.
Yeah,
it's crazy how bad a character she is.
How evil she gets even worse and worse as it goes on.
I mean, even in the first episode, you see her talk down to the guy who's like her lackey, and you're like, why does this guy help her ever? Sturgis, yeah. And you're just like, she's just real mean to him to start, and you're like, man, why does this guy ever listen to her? But he's just like, he just wants to be he just wants to help, and he's not smart.
I'm not a smart man.
He's
not going to lie.
He's not slow necessarily, but he's just like kind of a simpler person, and he just wants to, to be helpful. And Bev very much takes advantage of that.
Yeah, he's a nice.
It
person.
took 3 episodes before I realized that Sturgis and Joe Colley were 2 different people.
Yeah,
because they both have beards. Do you have beard blindness?
One like big,
one's a bigger
scraggly
beard.
beards and everything like that. They're both always like working on something, like they're or like in disheveled shape of some sort. Like, and it wasn't until probably like episode 4 that I was like, oh, that's a different guy.
Yeah, that's the way.
So the miracle. Somebody want to?
Yeah. So the miracle.
We haven't even really talked about the introduction of the new priest in that, who's like charismatic and is like does this amazing like
played by
sermon.
Yeah.
And he's this newer priest. He comes in. He's like, Monsignor Pruitt is on the island. He's not coming, or no. He's on the mainland.
He's on the mainland.
He's sick, so I'm gonna take over for a while until he gets better. And
it doesn't feel genuine when he says that, but at the same time, like you have no reason to suspect him, and like the town has no reason to suspect him. But some people are already a little like, really,
he's
like
a little weird,
we're pretty tight with Monsignor. So
I think that's just the kind of like community it is, where like any little change like that, it gets the murmurs going amongst everyone. Like,
and he's so nice and likable at that point. So you're just like, I guess I believe him. And then at this point in the second episode, we see him greeting everyone in and bringing them in, and he sort of looks at Lisa and is like, "Oh, that's weird." And then he does something that I thought was the meanest thing. Right. As he's giving her communion.
Is that this episode?
Yeah,
that was the end of episode 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
He gives her communion, and she opens her mouth, or she puts up her hands. I don't remember if she does the mouth.
He doesn't put it on anybody's tongue.
Up,
yeah.
And
he's like, "Come and get it," and then he keeps on backing away, and he gets her to stand up, and everyone's like, "What the fuck are you doing? That's mean." And she ends up standing up.
Like literally walks.
This is a paralyzed girl.
Like
yeah. Who's a very like devout child too. Like you don't necessarily see that, and she's very much like a child who has faith.
Like that's another thing, just to let like anyone listening know, is like this is the kind of devout Catholic community where like there's a group of people who go to mass literally every single day,
and she's one of them.
And she is one of them.
Well, also when tragedy strikes, a lot of people do turn to faith like very heavily, and like this is such a big deal for her already. So I feel like that.
Well, we have nicely in the first 2 episodes, we have both halves of that, right? We have a man who starts with faith and then loses it when a tragedy happens caused by him, and then we have a young woman or a girl who tragedy happens to her, and her faith blossoms and she fully embraces it. So we have like the atheist and we have the devout, both from like similar, beginnings.
Yeah, for sure. And that's how it ends. A miracle.
Quite literally a miracle.
He keeps dangling it, and she eventually gets up out of the chair, to much to the shock of everyone, including herself.
I don't know. Maybe it's because like I grew up Roman Catholic. I went to Catholic school until I was 13. I went to church until I don't know, like I was 8 or 9 or something like that. And I had to go to church as a part of school. Watching this stuff is hard for me, like watching because I am not a faithful person, and I have nothing against people who have faith. But like it is difficult, and like I know my mother had similar. She was raised Protestant, so it's like it's hard to sit down and like. I said it before in our other podcast. There's a religiosity. So these people are just like all in, and like that just does not compute for me. And it is maybe for me personally difficult to watch someone just like take a sermon, and just be like, and like nod their head and be like, yeah, that sounds right. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, and not question anything.
And in this point, like watching them, it's sort of in that weird cultist type view, because you're seeing them like, oh my god, yeah, you're right, we should become an army later, but like they get to that
well, he is slow. That's part of that slow burn is him building up their piety, right? Their zealousness. But he is a very charismatic preacher, and I think part of that for me is like I like he's a very charismatic character, and you like him, But at the same time, it's like you look at, certain very charismatic preachers in the United States, especially, and you're like, immediately you're suspicious.
Yeah.
Because the vultureness of, like, hey, I'm a millionaire, I'm a private jet, but, you got to donate to me. Now, this isn't what he's like, but, there's also plenty of history with the Catholic Church and stuff like that. So to me, it's very like, man, I don't think anybody should be, on this guy's side. But he's man, he's charismatic.
And it's weird because people were sort of on this tipping point at this point in the series, the second episode. Yeah. They're like, he's still new and we don't really know him, and we really know Monsignor Pruitt, so we trust him. But then this happens and just like all full in 100%. I don't think anyone there other than Riley was like
the bit in this episode that like, and to mirror off of Dave being an ex-Catholic who grew up in that and went to all those, like the scene that spoke to me the most from that age was the Ash Wednesday sequence when you come into the church and it's Ash Wednesday and all of a sudden the church is full. I think everyone there is because everyone wants to get their cross.
No, because at the thing he has the cross on his forehead at the potluck.
Oh
yeah.
So like everybody is there for that, and like just to hear him make
it's a
those
miracle for
Easter.
That's right.
Yeah.
Sorry, Brian.
So, but then hearing him make all those comments afterwards about, like it's always wonderful, it's always like weird on this day to see so many people here, but yet every other Sunday, where are you? And it's just like that biting, and it's like that's the guilt that the Catholicism puts in you when you're there. Because I used to be one of those guys that would only go on those events.
They're trying to fucking gaslight you into coming to church more. But like the thing is that the most like you say Christmas is an important holiday, but Easter is like actually the most important Catholic holiday.
Easter is the most important one
because that's where the religion comes from. That's why it's all there. That's the forgiveness of sins and the renewal, of everlasting life and all this stuff, and all that's gone into in this show. So. I know people who were like, I can't watch the show because it's going to be too much of that. And I'm like, but it's worth getting through is the thing. I struggled with all that and I got through it.
What's great about this series as a whole is that it talks about the spectrum of spirituality. You get the very Catholic, the very religious, like the church going people. Then you have the science, and then you have the spirituality that goes in between that. Mm-hmm. And I think this show has a good like mix, especially with Erin Green, like her marrying her the two species I will get to in the last episode. It like they do such a good job at going through all of it, and it's hard to do. Like
I mean, part of me hates that there's a show that's like, and for good reason, essentially, that it's like all white people except for Rahul Kohli and Rahul, who plays his son. They're both named Rahul in real life. Everyone, is there even a black character?
No, there's
in this show.
No, there is one.
No, there is another.
The wife and the daughter, right? The wife and the daughter. Yeah, the paralyzed girl.
And
not
then the girlfriend.
But if you look in look in the crowd, and especially in episode 6. Right in the very front, there's another East Indian resident.
There's also a black girl with dreads who's talking to the doctor at the potluck.
Sarah.
And they're talking about her sexuality, but I think it's sort of veiled. When they're like, could you imagine if everyone knew you're gay? And
I feel bad, almost like they were sitting here literally playing like, pointing out the black guy in the crowd in the show, but like it's a part of it though. Like that is a part of the show.
The show essentially calls out that kind of like why that's the case. It's also like this is like a dying island. It's not like people want to move here.
Yeah,
but we get into that with Sheriff.
You get into these small communities. Like if I go up past Guelph, I am the only person of color in any place. I'm just like, I wonder if you could spot me in this crowd of white folk.
I think that's what the show does really well. It does tackle the perspective of the other, whoever it is in any kind of culture or setting, and who is the other in that.
Because like Flanagan does that in all of his work, though. If you go through his stuff, it's usually about like because the crackpot going, I swear to God, I'm not crazy. Like this thing is real, and please don't.
I very much like the playing off of the sheriff and Bev on their two views on religion.
Oh man, it's so frustrating.
That scene at the school between the two of them was just
that's episode 3, right?
Yeah,
I believe so. It's in around episode 3 to 5 are all a little murky as to what happened exactly in each of them.
Oh no, you know why? Because the sheriff's son wants to go because it's Easter Mass and that's such an important Mass, right?
Oh,
everybody else on the island is going.
Yeah,
no, it's not that. No, it was earlier. It's because he found the Bible in his kid's bag, and he was pissed because they go to a public school.
Yeah.
If they go to a public school and they should not be giving them Bibles.
We should get to that point. Let's go through that.
That sounds like a prayer. A prayer in a public school. God has no place within these walls.
Do you want me to do episode 3?
No. Episode 3, Proverbs. Miraculous times leave residents stunned as Lisa pays Joe an important visit. A shocking confession reveals what really happened to Monsignor Pruitt. So this is maybe the hardest scene in the whole show to watch.
Yeah.
But the girl who was paralyzed, keep in mind, we're like 2.5 hours into a show now. So we're starting to get a feel for this. And this girl can now walk. It's a miracle. She goes to visit the guy who caused her paralysis, who shot her in the spine while he was drunk or something like that as an accident. And it the power of this scene is so, and the way like this guy, he just breaks down. Right? Like she doesn't you think she's going to like yell and scream at him and stuff. And she's like, I forgive you. And you're just like,
but she does sort of.
She lays into him. She lays into him, but that's after she forgives him.
And that just like is another. You just get that kick in the gut. And
oh my God,
Anna Ray Simone, who played Lisa, masterful. Like that scene was so good. She did. Oh, and
especially too when like she walks over and is just like, "Is this the gun?"
Oh my gosh!
Like I'm like, oh my God! Like this is where we're going.
Yeah, like you don't expect her to show up.
It's not the gun. It's not the gun.
No,
because he got rid of it. Yeah, and he's basically like 2 lives are ruined. Is what you realize is that he's totally just given up on life. He just sits around and drinks all day, doesn't do anything, doesn't care about anything.
And now that his dog is dead, it's like even worse. It's just like building up of that. Depression.
And in the first episode, all the kids ride by on bikes and they're like, hey, too bad you can't join us. Sorry. Like she doesn't get to have her childhood because this guy, and she even says that, she goes, you robbed my childhood from me. Mm-hmm. Right.
But what I like is like, it's almost that scene in the same sense is almost a rebirth because now going out of that scene, I'm now able to walk. I'm now able to get that life that you took from me back. Mm-hmm. And for him, he walks out going like, I don't want to drink anymore. Like I'm ready to set myself straight and lead a better life. So
did we talk
like,
about
and that's, I love those parallels or that like those metaphors in the show about like rebirth and that. Like,
did we talk about how the
idea of
Sorry, go for it.
Sorry. I said the idea of renewal comes up a lot in how Riley is drawn into the priest fold and that through his AA meetings with him.
Well, yeah, I was just saying we didn't talk about how the priest ended up starting an AA just for Riley, but he knew that he could start, I guess, pulling people in because alcoholism is very.
I think a lot of people don't realize that AA is a Catholic. Or it's a Catholic or Christian organization.
It very much started that way on the Catholic.
You can find like non-secular versions, but it's still most parts are still funded by churches, and it's very much sort of like I find my faith in prison, and it's like because part of a lot of religions are setting you free, right? But it's also like it is a way to get people into your religion. Also,
look, even without the Catholic angle of AA and that, there is a God component to it in that. No matter what in that, AA asks you to
release yourself to a higher power.
Yes,
to acknowledge yourself as a part of a bigger whole.
Actually, in the show, Riley talks to Monsignor about that, going like, hey, there's other versions of AA where it's not giving yourself up to a higher power, it's accepting your flaws and all this other stuff, and not saying, oh, it's like just absolving yourself from blame.
And then Monsignor said, or Father Joe, or I guess that's his name, Joe.
I don't know if do we get his name?
Father Paul.
He went by Father Paul, I believe.
Yeah.
Paul Hill, right? Paul Hill, something like that.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how that's bullshit. What's your truth, blah, blah, blah. And that's the great thing about this episode. It's called Proverbs, and that's a traditional saying of a truth based in in thought and stuff, or at least that's what the term means. And like this episode is all
wrapped in a story. Like it's stories that tell the truth. Like,
and these are all about like very much the truth. Like Lisa went for to talk to Joe about the accident, find her truth and his truth. Yeah. And then Riley starts gets more into AA here, and I can't remember what.
It's also this episode is the Easter Monday right? Like they go into Easter Monday, and that's like the first midnight mass where they have a mass at night. Because
it's the Bible one too.
When she forgives him, I think it's supposed to sort of been like Jesus being like, Judas, you're going to betray me, but I forgive you. It's fine. Like, bad things have to happen for good things to happen, which is not true, by the way. It's not true.
Sometimes bad things just happen.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
And then this is the episode that Brent had mentioned earlier, is that the sheriff found the Bible in his son's notebook, which, is not cool because it's a public school. You don't mix religion and
government.
School. Yeah. No, school and
education.
Yeah. And he has this meeting with all the parents and obviously Bev, and he's like, "What would you do if I just randomly gave people the Quran?" And she had all these misconceptions, which a lot of Christians do.
A lot of people do
about people in general, but very like.
That was why I love that scene, because that scene wasn't just two characters talking. That was essentially him speaking to everyone watching the show who doesn't understand what the Quran is and what the Muslim faith is, and he basically spells it out beautifully.
He's like, because
which is why it's all the more frustrating when Bev Caine shuts everybody down and starts doing her fucking propaganda. I know. Just make you hate her even more.
Yeah,
she's the other thing I like.
The other thing that I liked in that scene, but that I ended up not liking later on, was I liked that there was such a dissent in that room where you could tell that there were other residents on the island who are not religious, who are not following the long lines. But then I felt like the show never really followed up on any of those. I would have liked to see a couple of other characters.
Yeah, one of the kids at the very end. Later on. Yeah,
no, the kid and that dude, right?
The dude where they're like, "You can't come in."
Yeah,
at the very end. Like, he was one of the guys who was in that room.
He was right beside the sheriff, and he was like, "I don't like this. That's not cool."
Yeah. But I wish that we would have seen, we could have seen a little more scenes, or at least one of those characters also being developed. So it wasn't just the sheriff who was always so, like anti-Catholicism, or not anti-Catholicism, but like,
he's secular.
Let's look at everywhere. Like, look at everything.
I like that. What was I?
He's also the most educated in terms of religion anyone, because they're like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. He's like, yeah, like, well, maybe you read the Bible. He goes, yeah, I've read the Bible.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, that's kind of part of what happens when you're like, that's.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, Muslims believe that,
Jesus is a prophet.
Prophet, and etc.
And I don't remember what episode it was in, but I just really quickly got to just state that, like, his speech on why he came to that island to be the sheriff. Oh my god! Yeah, I can't remember exactly what episode it was, but I don't know if we'll touch on it, but I just want to say like that. I don't know the actor's name, sorry, but like
Rahul Kohli.
Damn, that was such an amazing monologue.
Yeah, that's when Dr. Sarah talks to him about going off the island. That's 6.
Okay,
is it 5 or 6? We haven't even touched on that yet. We haven't even touched on Sarah and Mildred yet.
We haven't gone.
Well, we're barely into 3.
Yeah, so 3 at the end of this episode, a bunch of the congregation is in Monsignor Pruitt's little house, right? Bev, the mayor,
Sturgis, the mayor, then
his wife, and then Father Paul. Father Paul comes in and just dies in front of them.
The same way the dog died.
Yeah. We don't. Yeah, like, are we supposed to think? I think
he tried to commit suicide.
Do you think that's what it was, or do you think Bev Caine fucking poisoned him?
I wondered at some point if he tried to commit suicide.
Why though? He knew what he was doing.
I don't think
because I think he
brought the thing.
I think he knew what he was doing. I think he eventually did start to kind of get the gravity of what was going to happen. And you see that towards the end. And I think Bev is the one who is there constantly, like, she understood, like what needed to be happening and everything. And as she started to understand what's going on with him and what his true self is, she keeps pushing and pushing and pushing. And I think he
she knows like episode 1, I think.
I think he wanted an out.
Picture, and
I think he was trying to get out.
I don't know, man. Like,
either that or it was Bev, and she was testing. to see if what happening. I think that could have been Bev testing to see if this was he was a miracle or not.
I don't think so, because I think we would have seen, if it was, I think we would have seen something from Bev in that regard.
He dies the same way the dog died, though. He dies coughing up blood like it's
but at the same time,
poison.
Was it ever, do we know for sure that it was Bev that killed the dog?
No, that's totally left in the air.
Also, why would Bev do that?
It was never revealed who actually did that to the dog.
But we could be pretty sure.
We do know she did kill the dog in that. I checked when that sausage got dropped in that, and there was a flutter of a skirt, and she was wearing the same floral pattern on the skirt at the end of the episode.
What a bitch. Hawk's going screen crush on his Ryan Erin.
You put it, but like they never. It's not something that was ever like, because I kept wondering throughout the show, is it ever going to get revealed who did it?
And it's weird because Monsieur Pruitt didn't die when he went to. So at the end of this episode, he's also doing his confession where he's talking about him being Monsignor Pruitt, but he didn't die when he met the angel, air quotes, the first time.
I'm very confused about that.
Apparently
it seems like he died.
Apparently, he just got fed the blood and then became younger, which is what he was doing to the other people.
So in Vampire the Masquerade, which is kind of like does the whole vampire mythos, if you just get a vampire's blood without being drained fully, which do we just like basically it's a vampire.
This is a vampire thing.
Yeah.
No, guys, it's an angel.
But the weird thing is they never use the word vampire once.
Because it's not in the world.
It's because the parallels between like vampirism, like the origins of that and the origins of Catholicism are so similar. It works so
Go
beautifully.
watch Dracula 2000.
I was going to say the original vampire is Judas.
Because I don't know why, but I went down a deep dive of Vampire the Masquerade, and the original vampire that is Caine, and he's cursed by God after he kills Abel, right, and lies about it. But in Vampire the Masquerade, which is obviously a very large vampire property, and a lot of things tend to be based on it, you don't become a vampire unless you're fully drained of your blood, and then you're given vitae, which vampires don't have blood, they have vitae. So if you just get it, you become a ghoul, which basically makes you a human with some vampire powers. Which is essentially what this show was. What's happening is because by this episode, not only do we see Lisa being able to walk, but this is when I realized, why are these young actors being aged up in the show?
I sent this to Hawk. I was like,
I know you wrote this. I keep watching.
I was in the first episode.
They
I was like,
start
I don't
getting
understand.
younger, and it's genius. It is genius because when you first watch, when you first start the show, you really think, what the fuck is going on? Why did they just get older people for this?
Yeah, I did.
Because you can't. It's my god!
I saw where that was going. Like as soon
fucking
as
long con.
Yeah. As soon as it wasn't even when the mother was like, I don't need glasses anymore, I can see. It was when they were on the boat and the father was like talking about how I don't have back problems anymore. Yep. I can handle this. I go like,
Riley's like, let me get that for you. You're getting younger. He goes, no, my back's fine.
Like, it was like they're all getting younger. And then like later on, it's said, like you revert back to your best self. Like you revert back to when you were at your best person ever.
Yeah. So this is when he becomes full vampire, though. He dies.
When he dies, he ends up becoming a vampire.
Yeah.
He becomes, what did they say? They become chosen.
Chosen, yeah. There's no vampires in this world, apparently.
I don't think it's I don't think it's that. I think all these people are well aware of what vampires are. I think it's just one of those situations where because he in his mind is like, no, this is an angel from the Lord. I encountered this thing in Jerusalem or outside Jerusalem. He's like, I've been blessed by God. Like he's so fanatical because he had like Alzheimer's before this shit happened, right? Remember, he was like
he was literally on death's door.
He wandered away from his tour group. He was wandering through the desert, and that. How could he have not seen that as some sort of a religious experience?
I find like Sorry.
So it starts with the most religious, the most pious people, and radiates out from there. So you can see, like, if you or I just saw somebody getting like their blood drained, you'd be like, "That's a fucking vampire." But I feel when someone who doesn't, when you see the supernatural in front of you, and you want to believe it's not that thing, then they're going to believe what they want to believe. And that's exactly what happens, is that it radiates. It starts with the tightest group, right? The most religious people. And they go, yep, that's an angel from the Lord. We've all seen the miracle. Our little girl can walk again.
Fair.
We're all getting younger. We're all getting stronger, blah, 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 blah. We saw a man come back to life, just like Jesus. Why would that be a vampire?
But like a lot of these a lot of these stories, like a zombie movie or like, a vampire movie. They're just like, vampires don't exist in that world. Zombies don't exist in that world. I just assumed that this show.
Well, Eric, I want you to be aware that vampires also don't exist in our world.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure Angelina Jolie drank blood.
That doesn't make her a vampire. Well, you can be a vampire in the sense that you drain people. You could be like Craig Robinson. Not Craig. Colin Robinson, and drain people of their energy. Yeah. You could be an energy vampire, but not in a supernatural way.
Right? I would just like to say that while we've been recording the show, I have been texting and got 2 more people to start watching it.
Nice. They should watch the Twitch stream too.
Yeah.
Do you mean they're watching?
They want to watch, like, because a couple people wanted to tune in and watch the podcast right now, and I was like, no, watch the show first.
You gotta watch the
watch the show first.
I could not. I don't. Man, it would be very upsetting because this show is like phenomenal, and to have it spoiled would actually really suck.
Yeah. Episode 4, Lamentations.
Are you? Yeah, so Erin turns to Riley after receiving upsetting news. Father Paul starts experiencing disturbing side effects, and Bev makes a startling discovery. So Erin Green is basically Riley, who seemingly would be, even to this point, very much seems like he's the protagonist of the show.
Yep.
Maybe a duder antagonist with some other people, but it's still very much focused on his journey. He's starting to get clean. He's working through his AA. And he's butting heads, but at the same time, like, he does agree with Father.
He's trying to talk to Father Paul.
He's finding a middle ground. With
He's
trying to find that non-Catholic, where I can, I can listen to your teachings, but I don't have to believe them.
And he's trying not to be confrontational with the priest as well, because he doesn't really.
It's also that, like, he's essentially an outsider. And he's, by this point, people have embraced the new priest. And so, like, he can't go head to head with this guy because it's not going to work out for him. He needs to be accepted by his family. He needs to be accepted by this community if he's going to stay, if he's going to have a place here. So, yeah, he's very much, like, non-confrontational. But you see, like, he is a good person.
Yeah.
Is that this show does a good job of going, hey, just because you're an atheist doesn't mean you're a bad person.
Yeah. Just because you do something bad doesn't make you, like, you just because you make a mistake and you've gone through things doesn't make you necessarily a bad person.
Yeah, and it's not like he intentionally killed someone. He made a bad choice that led to someone's death. Yeah. He didn't go out and go, I'm going to kill this person and blah, blah. It wasn't malicious.
I'm pretty sure it's this episode too where he has the conversation with his father, where his father's basically like, I can't keep hating you because I have to understand that, like, what happened has to be a result of either your mother and I, and she's too good to be why this happened to you, so it has to be me. I have to be to blame for what happened to you.
Henry Thomas.
That's Catholic guilt, baby. It's got to be someone's fault.
Yeah.
I had no idea that was Henry Thomas until this episode.
Yeah.
Right. He's been in almost everything that
I kept the whole time going, who the hell is he? I know him from somewhere.
And then from
But I feel like Erin Green is a great pairing with Riley because she was also that other person that went off island for a while and went through that. But she's a little bit more. She went back into her faith a little bit. I feel like not fully in, but maybe a footer. Like she has one of her 2 feet.
Is she not also his high school girlfriend? Is that not?
Yes. Yeah. They were childhood sweethearts, and that everybody thought they were going to get married.
Yeah.
Then she went off, became an actress, got pregnant, married.
Yep.
Then
a bad
came
dude.
Back to because that dude was abusive.
She came back because her mother died and she took the house.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so
but also to get away from an abusive boyfriend.
Yeah. The upsetting news is, and it's pretty disturbing when you're watching this, is that she goes back to she's pregnant. She goes to get an ultrasound and the doctor goes, you don't have a baby. You're not pregnant.
Well, we sign no signs of her.
Like she goes to see her friend in the island, Dr. Sarah, who tells her, like, I don't know what to tell you, but I don't see any traces of the baby
uterus
anymore.
is clear.
So she goes to the mainland to get a second opinion, and the doctor's literally looking at her like, what are you talking about? You were never pregnant.
Go see a psychologist.
Like, holy shit. Right. Yeah, like, we need to set you up with a psychologist because you were never, there's no signs you were ever pregnant.
So this is when you kind of like going like, so there's a scientific element to this, like, sort of fantasy that's going on. And I was a big fan of The Strain. Like, I read all the novels. I didn't watch the show. And I think this show does a way better job of doing all that, even though this is a very like faith heavy show.
Mm-hmm.
I think it does a way better job of the science of what's happening here too. Because The Strain leaned very heavily on science for its vampirism.
Which is why Annabeth Gish character of Sarah was so important to the show in that. Especially being a lesbian, being an outsider in this community, and that
she doesn't go to church every week, like she's taking care of her mother. Like
I think it was very. I think Mike Flanagan was very cognizant of making the most important characters in the show women.
Yep.
Yeah.
Where like the doctor,
her mother,
and Bev is like pushing all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like it's really like a woman of science and a woman of faith, but like one of them is actually an altruist and one of them is very selfish.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter what side they were on. What mattered is what their intentions were.
We didn't mention that Bev realized that Father, whatever his name, was actually Monsignor Pruitt, like way earlier. And when he dies, she's like, "Oh,
shit, in episode 1, she goes to visit him. She looks at the paint. Like it's very. The thing is, it's very subtle.
Yeah,
it's all very subtle. Like I really think if you watch this through with a fine-tooth comb, that doesn't make any sense.
So now I'm thinking, looking back on it, like I don't think anyone. I think he poisoned himself.
I don't think he poisoned. I think
he did, because there had to be
poisoned him, man.
There had to be the transubstantiation. He had to leave his
but he can't kill himself because
he
he's Catholic, though, right?
Yeah, but he's not gonna go to hell. Well, he's gonna go to hell now, probably.
Yeah.
I don't think Bev at that point knew exactly what was going on.
It's a weird,
to the point of I need to do this for this to happen. I don't know. It's
here's the thing. I don't think she cared. I don't think it's that at all. I think she poisons him because she goes, "This is either Monsignor Pruitt and it's a miracle and he's going to be fine, or I'm going to kill this imposter."
I love that it's just open for each one of us has our own interpretation on it. Like
it's like the end of the thing.
Each one of them could work.
Did they die at the end of this thing? I don't know. Did the thing die?
The video game gave it away.
There's a lot, like on the internet, there are debates everywhere saying whether Bev killed him. It's just like it is this big hot topic around this series, which I love.
It makes sense. It does make sense that she killed him in that. I mean, like it's no like. It is no easy thing, like even killing an animal in that, and she did that.
She definitely killed that dog.
It's also
killed that dog.
It makes sense that, to me, it does make sense if she killed him, but it doesn't make sense to me at the time that it happened. That she didn't know enough at that point to think that this is something that would work.
It's also weird because we see her put away the poison after he comes back to life. So she still had it. So I don't know,
and access to it, and very few people had access to it. But again, what is knowledge to her in that? It's like she wasn't like somebody who went on facts. This was an act of faith on her part in that, and she like her bizarre twisted version of what faith is, and that. And I'm convinced.
Yeah, she's very much like her way or the highway. Like if you don't believe the way she believes, it's a problem for her.
Yeah.
Whatever. What else happened in Lamentations?
Well, he starts this is when he realizes he needs to drink blood because what's his name? Unfortunately I forgot. The drunk who he's been.
Oh, Joe Cully.
Joe Cully, who he's been. Counseling at AA with Riley as well. Joe Colley and he have a confrontation because he's realizing he needs to he feels the hunger, right? Yeah. So he goes to mess with Joe Colley, and Joe Colley's like, "Hey man, get off of me!" And then Joe Colley slips and dies, cracks his head open, and then he's like, "Oh, this is the good stuff," and he starts drinking his blood.
Yeah.
It's
I love that. Yeah. The look on Monsignor's face, he's so upset with himself that he's done this, but he knows that he couldn't stop himself. Hamish Linklater, man, I'm gonna say this, but for every single actor, whenever I see a scene that's just brilliant, this is one of his it was just one of the best. His look of horror that he had to do this, but he did.
There's things you could see. I could see, that actor playing this role. And it's this is a show where if they changed any single actor, I don't know if it would be as good as it is. it's so. I hate how perfect it is.
And again,
I hate it.
Like story-wise, this is Lamentation, so it's all about grief and sadness. Like where he's dealing with that. Erin's dealing with her losing her baby in a weird way. And this is the one. Is this the one where they talk about death, Riley and her?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
I love this speech.
They have their conversation about and if I'm not mistaken, this episode ends when Riley walks in and sees what happens, right? And then Riley gets
because
Riley gets turned.
Father, Monsignor Pruitt needs the sacrament refilled by his his new friend.
Oh, that's right. They are in the rec center, and Riley. Oh, that's right. Because the hug isn't. I don't know why. In my mind, it's at the Monsignor's house. It's in the rec center, and that's where Joe Colley dies. And Riley comes back. And
Joe Colley dies in his thing, and Riley dies in the basement.
Oh, but Riley sees the angel. Refilling the sacrament. But doesn't
and the angel just takes him.
Yeah. No, he eats him there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't. He takes someone out. Who does he take away earlier?
He doesn't take any. He takes like a random.
There was
side guy.
There was that was a teenager who was, I think they said, is a drug dealer around the place. And
that's right. Yeah. It just takes him. Yeah.
So this is also, I think, where we start seeing Sarah's mom getting much better,
way younger,
and way
because she's getting private mass by the Monsignor.
Yeah.
And this is when we all start putting together, oh, the sacrament is the vampire's blood. The vampire's blood is making everybody younger. Yeah. She's getting special masses. We don't know why she's getting special masses. You just think, oh, because she can't go, when we know she's very devout. So Monsignor's coming to her house.
Well, at this point, wasn't it revealed that like he had Monsignor Pruitt had a very special connection with her, like many years ago.
It wasn't really
next episode.
It was. Okay. It's not really until she starts going back to church again that kind of gets revealed.
Okay, because they did have the scene in that where he was like, he almost broke down in tears in that when he was giving her the sacrament and that.
Oh no, I think that's this.
Oh no, it is. Oh, that's right. It is this episode. It's the last time he goes to see her at the house.
And then the next episode is when he does the revelation.
Yeah.
But can we talk about the speech there, the talk that Riley and Erin have about death? Because it's a nice way of her processing going through.
I can't imagine, because it really looks like a oneer. Like because when one of them talk, and it's like one of them talks for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's some good acting. That's some good memorization. I think that's what they did.
Like, and it's very telling that she spoke not on behalf of herself, but she talked on behalf of her child, which I thought was a little neat. And it's fully a religious take on where death is, and Riley goes straight to the scientific. And the mirroring of this and her speech at the end, which sort of has both the science and I guess spirituality mixed together.
Yeah.
Is just so well done. The girl who played Erin Green,
she's
Kate
in
Siegel.
all of
Kate Siegel.
She's in all of Mike's stuff.
She did.
I'm glad they tackled that. It's like, how do people who are non-religious background and that approach death and that? What do we make of it? And that, if we don't believe in the idea of a soul or an afterlife or a heaven and that, it's like, how, what keeps us kind of afloat spiritually?
I saw a great meme recently, and I'm sure it's been around a long time, but it was, it's like, you telling me if I do this, I get eternal life. Basically, no thanks. I've had enough life already. I've been here long enough. I don't need any more after this. That's it. That's the meme.
And so I guess it was a good way. And the visual. This is the time when Riley's visualization of his, his dream of being on the boat and being in this endless lake, and his grief about killing someone and him at odds with his faith sort of came together with the science of it, of his belief of death. And it's wonderful because in the next episode, I don't want to go jump ahead, but the next episode when he starts seeing the stars and everything, like it's sort of it's
the start of the next episode. We can jump into it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So because the start of the next episode, Erin is filing a missing report because he didn't show up. Like we don't find out he comes back to like midway through
There is a Tarantino in episode 5, isn't there? Where they go back to his point of view, right?
That's at the end.
Yes.
We go through the whole day and then we come back.
Yeah.
It's at the end when he's telling her the story, like, you're not going to believe this, but I need you to listen. Like,
yeah.
God,
that's when we go back and retell it all.
And that's the Gospels, which is great because he's
Book 5 because God's what is it in the Rocky goes good speed, God spell.
No.
So book 5 Gospel, Sheriff Hassan fields multiple missing person reports as the town prepares to gather for Good Friday. To protect Erin, Riley brings the truth to light. Have I got it wrong? Oh no, the very end is
the end of episode 5 is that
it's
like
the boat
Friday.
The last 20 minutes of this episode is Riley and Erin on the boat.
Yeah.
No, yeah. What I'm thinking, I'm like, because we've already had Easter. No, we've only had the start of Easter because he's talking about Lent, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, why is Lent so important? Because that's Ash Wednesday,
yeah,
right?
We're going through
right.
Ash Wednesdays.
Because I'm thinking like Easter, blah blah blah. It's like, but he's resurrected not on Easter. That's way down the line.
Yeah.
Next episode is Easter.
Yeah.
The midnight mass. Oh, also we forgot to mention that the Monsignor started doing mass at night because he can't go during the day. That's what we.
Well, since his death, he does that. Yeah. I mean, there's a whole thing. I mean, we can't go over every little tiny thing.
I think that was sort of
important. The reason the show's called Midnight Mass is because they start having. But the thing is, they don't have it at midnight. They have it at night.
Yeah.
But night mass doesn't sound as.
But the midnight mass is the Easter vigil, which is very important. Next episode.
I have a quick question. While I was pooping, did we go over what happened to Joe Colley with the Reverend?
Yes.
Or with the? Okay,
yes.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah, he went poop and died.
Yeah. So yeah, this episode. Well, I already said it, right?
Yeah, you.
So yeah, that's right. So this is when Aaron Green comes to Rahul Sheriff Hassan, and it's the second missing persons report because he's already had. Is Joe Colley reported?
No,
Joe, the drug dealer who has been reported missing, and who technically the sheriff was sort of investigating, but sort of not. But his mother is very upset because it's a human being and he's missing, and they want to blame different people.
His name is Bill, but they call him Bull.
It's one of those. It was like one of those things where it's like you don't even know this person's name. It's like
I did.
Everybody can't be important to everyone else. Unfortunately, it's not how life works. We have a limit. But yeah, so I think it's a second missing persons report, and he's like, well, there's nothing I can do about it because the island's only so big, and I can't.
And he has absolutely no resources.
Yeah,
that's the other thing. Him. Is it this scene? He also goes like, I don't even carry a gun.
Yeah,
or is that later?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is when he explains like, he was he wanted to basically break the stigma after 9/11 as a Muslim, and he wants to fix all this stuff, and he just gets like pushed out of his police department.
That's not this one.
Is it? No,
that's when Sarah.
That's the doctor.
During the blackout.
Yeah, we're talking about Erin talking to.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah. So he goes to visit Joe Colley, but Joe Colley's not there.
Yeah, he goes to see Joe Colley because of Bowl.
But Joe Colley's not there.
Joe Colley's gone.
Yeah. So he now has 3 missing people, and he's like, "Fuck! I still can't do anything about this." And this is when maybe it's this episode when his son is like, "Hey, I'm gonna go to church," and he's like, "God damn it!"
Yeah,
because it's been building. Because also the miracle has happened, and his son is friends with these other. There's only like 8 kids in town.
Yeah, it was this episode or the one before, but like where his son is like, "I want to." Because he's basically just telling his dad, like, keep an open mind. Like, that's what you always say. Like, I just want to go and I want to see what it is.
And he's like, I didn't get to pick to be a Muslim. You chose that for me. I want to do this for myself. And I think that's a good way of, if you
it is, but we also really don't want that boy to go to that church.
Yes, that's true.
Because we know what the fuck's going on.
This is also the episode where the church, where Monsignor tells people that he's Monsignor. Right? Is that this episode?
That's at the end, I think. Yeah. That's the. There's a lot because this is Revelations, right? No, this is Gospels.
This is the
Revelations. The end.
This is the one where he does the very militant "We are an army" speech, and then the mom of the
mom
doctor
like storms
is
out.
Like, fuck this shit.
Who is like super young? at this point. She's fully like in her 20s.
She's got all her senses. She's got all her senses back. She's walking for the first time.
I say
like,
she'd be in her 40s at this point, not 20.
Yeah.
I don't think they put any makeup. I don't think they put any makeup on the actress who's like younger than me.
It's the late 30s, early 40s.
Like. The last episode's when she looks really young.
She's looking good. She was looking good compared to what she looked like before.
Yeah, it's. I think what we just need to focus on is what happens with Riley, because it is so good. Like, it's not what I expected at all.
I think it's important that we talk about the mom, because she had this previous relationship with this priest who has.
But none of that matters until.
But we find out that they had known each other, and
the relationship between them does.
Different just freeze.
Matter because that does dictate how story ends at the end.
Yeah. But yeah, let's go to Riley.
Okay, so Riley, we know Riley's been having this dream or this vision or whatever. Not vision, but this nightmare essentially. He comes back to life, and he realizes he's been turned and all this stuff, and he's very upset. And of course, Monsignor Pruitt tries to convince him, and he's not having it, right? Because he's already not on that side of things. He's like, this is if someone was going to say the word vampire, it would have been here.
Yeah.
And that's
why I don't think vampires exist.
There's a really great line, right, where he goes to the Monsignor right before he leaves, and he goes, "Did you when I was dead on the floor, did you drink my blood too?"
Yeah.
And he's like, because you said we're not allowed to lie here, right? We're not lying. And the Monsignor hesitates, and he's like, "Yes, I did." And he goes, "That," like, he doesn't say it, but he's like, "That's fucked up.
Yeah,
that's not going to happen with me."
He's telling all of this to Erin Green, by the way. He goes to see her at night because she would be worried about him. He had disappeared.
Well, he's been missing all day to her as well, right?
Yeah.
And then he goes, "Hey, hold on. He asked her to get into a boat with him and ride and row out." And I'm like, "Oh my God, he's going to like corner her and she can't escape." He has a boat. There's an implication.
Yep.
Like, this is terrible.
I unfortunately, I accidentally spoiled the ending of this episode for myself, and I was really upset that
I assumed what happened was going to happen.
Because this is like the high point of tension in the show.
Yeah.
Where you think,
right?
Because you think like he's going to do something terrible because he's afflicted with what the Monsignor's afflicted
and she
with.
thinks that he's going to do something terrible in that, and she's
you see it in her eyes. She looks very worried.
The way she's talking to him in that, if there's help that you need, I will get you that help. And I don't know why you brought me out here if you want me to be scared.
Yeah,
and he's like, I don't want you to be scared.
And then when he goes, I didn't bring you out here to get you to put you alone with me. I rode out here so I had nowhere to go.
Oh.
And I went, oh my fucking God.
Because you can see the light going brighter just in the scene. Yeah. It's beautiful.
You know what I thought of? Which is actually, it was one of my favorite vampire films, 40 Days of Night.
Yep.
I know it's based on a comic, which I've also read. When Eben is like, because I thought, I don't know why I thought, Mike Flanagan like vehicle, I thought, oh, he's gonna like fight the other vampires. No, he's not Eben from 4 Days of Night. He doesn't go like he goes, no, I gotta prove to somebody else that this shit is real, and someone who will believe me.
He cared about Erin more than anybody else.
Yeah,
it's not even so much that he knew Erin's connections to the people in that town, and he knew that no one is going to believe me if I tell them what's going on, but they might believe her.
Yeah.
And the only way that I can get her to believe is sacrifice myself.
I also think he's the only one who doesn't ever give in to the hunger as well.
Yeah. No, his parents didn't.
Oh, that's true.
No, the parents didn't.
So something special about them.
No, it ends up just being that
they're good people.
You know what? We'll get to it. Like, I don't want to talk about that until we get to.
I part of at this point, all you can you don't know, but in my mind, I was going, it's like, oh, because he loves her so much, much more, and like because he doesn't want to hurt her because of also what he's done already in his life is he doesn't want to hurt anybody else ever again.
I'm horribly distracted by that good boy on Hawk's
there's a good dog.
Yeah.
Usually there's a cat.
And we didn't talk about
we know what happens to cats, though.
Yeah. We didn't talk about
God, we know what happens to dogs.
We didn't talk about the way that they shot how the vampires see everything and see light and see people's blood was so unique and
it's very subtle
too.
It's not
like how the lights all have like a little like aurora like around them. Like it's
it's like an astigmatism.
He's got
Riley had an amazing little speech in that earlier, and I don't know if it was earlier in that episode or before in that, but like about how like about the stars, about like was it the last episode about no, but how we used to look out to the hills and that in the prehistoric times and that we'd see we'd see firelight and that and looked knew that there were people out there and that and that's why we looked to the stars to see more firelights and that
it was just another example of like just another example of the show loves to like a few episodes earlier like we're gonna set this up for this to happen like
this is what happens when you have years and years and years of pre-production able to put something together.
One last thing I'd like to say about Riley and that and his decision in that but he going what he went through in that with alcoholism and eventually causing the death of a young woman, that he didn't let this new addiction and that lead him back down the same path, which is why he was able to to resist so much.
I'm thinking it's not just that like because whatever it is with his parents, like we don't know why his parents later on, but like with him you have all these things that make it seem like why he can do this that other people can't, even though we've only ever seen one other person unable to resist.
Like I said, I have theories on that, but I want to wait till we actually get to that point on it to talk about. So what I will say about this scene, like what I loved just how this scene was structured too, where like we don't see what's happening to him, but we see his perspective of like the woman he killed in the car accident, reaching her hand out to him and everything, and just the way that it juxtaposes all of a sudden that quick cut to Erin screaming was like just so jarring and hit me hard.
And the just the image of him like falling apart, like being lit on fire. Terrifying, like it's wonderful but terrifying.
I remember
Eric was asking about the boat. He's like,
as soon as it happened, I was like,
a wooden boat.
There's a wooden boat and she's on fire.
Fiberglass.
That's what I thought too. I'm like, he brought her out there to drown her.
When I was a kid, I used to watch a lot of like dumb sci-fi shows about like ghosts and like spontaneous combustion and stuff like that. And now I'm just convinced that anytime when they go spontaneous, a vampire just died here. That's all it is.
That's fair.
It is. Part of me was so sad that we lost this character because Riley's such an interesting character, but his arc just stops. And you think it's like not that far into the show. It actually is pretty far because we're on episode 5,
6.
right?
Yeah, 5. Yeah. Now we're going on.
And this is like such a turning point, and it's the end of the episode, right? Mm-hmm. Like there's all this buildup to be like, what happened? Where's Riley? And all you can think was like, well, maybe Riley's dead. And then this happens, and then he is dead.
Did.
Just
the burning and the screaming continues on during the credits too.
Yes, yes. Oh my! It's so weird. Just like I left the credits rolling, and I'm like, why is there still screaming? Why is a song not playing? What's happening?
It was jarring, super jarring.
But it just holds you. It just holds you there, man. Like it just keeps you in that moment. You just want to hit next episode. Or to skip. There's no title sequence in the show either.
Yeah. I did episode 1 to 3 the night before. I couldn't stop them, and then finally I started falling asleep. I said I'm gonna wait. And then the next morning, as soon as I woke up, I put on episode 4, and I was like, "Let me watch 1. I'll come back later." Nope, I went right through the last 4 without stopping.
I think I went 4 to 7.
Yeah. I think the only episode you can watch without like needing to watch the next one is episode 1.
Yeah, for sure. Although
after that, you're like, I'm stuck. I gotta finish. I did it all in I think 1 day. I think I did 1, and then I did 2 to 7.
I did it all within. I was within a 24-hour period.
Yeah,
I did just over 2 days.
I did 1 to 3, then 4 to 7.
It's not that difficult either because it's less than 7 hours, and I think that's a really good thing for this show because his other shows are like 13 episodes, and they feel way too long.
They're really moving away from that whole 13 episode format with like across the board in that.
Yeah.
In their defense, they needed that many reasons why.
You just need to reach through the internet and slap Brent real quick.
Brittany
said I wasn't allowed to do puns on your channel.
Doesn't mean I can't slap you.
So, Act of the
Apostles. That's not even a pun.
Act of the Apostles.
So okay. So book 6, Act of the Apostles, a fervent, shouldn't it be fervent? Fervent Bev calls her faith on the night of Easter Vigil, Sarah reveals the results of a troubling experiment along with a sobering theory.
Oh, yeah.
This is like when Bev just goes like full zealot, and she's like in control, basically, of all the followers at this point. Like, I don't even think the Monsignor has like any idea of how just ill-intentioned she is at this point. Even he is on board though, but like
he's on board for his reasons and like for how he sees this is all going to go down, but she has her own interpretation.
Yeah.
Like,
she wants the army.
She wants to take it way further. Yeah.
But the thing is, he's the one who's like talking about the army too. He's like, you should be. But I think that's all Bev whispering. I think it's behind the scenes, right? We don't see it actively happening.
The Judas.
She is the Judas.
Yes.
She did poison him. Ha! No.
I think we all agree she poisoned the dog. Let's move on.
Yeah.
She's which, first of all, that just alone makes you a terrible person. And unlike what Riley does, which is, you know, a terrible tragedy, Bev is human garbage.
So the beginning of this episode is when Erin goes to the doctor, right?
Yeah.
Yes, on the mainland now, right?
No.
No, like when they start getting isolated. They start getting isolated.
They're like, we're gonna work together. Yeah. We're gonna make.
So she goes there and tells the story about
and thinking,
and then she sees the mother.
Yeah. But then Sarah tells her the story about the blood exploding in the window,
which she puts in the window and then it explodes. Yeah.
So telling her basically, it's like, hey, you know, this is what's happened to scientists all their lives. They come up with a theory, everyone calls them crazy, like, but it turns out to be true. Like, are you crazy? Yeah. Maybe, but not saying it's not true.
I see. Here's the thing. So this show was filmed in the middle of the pandemic. Like at the height of it, they had shut down production and came back, and they were like the model because they did a really good job apparently of making sure like there was no leaks, no one got sick, everyone followed protocols, masks, and all that stuff. So I think the hand washing story might have been like, hey, let's rewrite this scene into the hand washing story because that might be really fucking useful in the middle of a pandemic.
Fair. And then afterwards, she goes to see the sheriff, right? To tell him about.
The doctor goes to see the sheriff, not Erin.
Yeah,
the doctor. Yeah. And that's when she gets the speech of, "Hey, I joined because this and that, and I wanted to prove to people that Muslims weren't the enemy, and were good people."
She wanted him to investigate the church, and he basically tells the story to explain why he can't do that.
Yeah.
I came here to not be noticed, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, he came here to a place where he didn't need to make a difference.
Yeah, he's basically it's like telling him, he's like, you want me to like, you know, Bev Caine and her people who already look at me as the enemy because I believe in a different religion. You now want me to go and target them? Like, no.
It's one of those things like same God, different practice. Mm-hmm. So weird to me.
And then after Sarah goes to see Riley's mom, right?
And Riley's mom is not having it, right? Yeah. She's like, you don't say that shit in my house. How dare you?
She tells him
she says, hey, your son's dead. And she goes, why would you say something so terrible in my house? Because Riley's been missing. He's missing all day.
Maybe he's just in the mainland.
She says she makes up all this shit. And just it was Annie Flynn and what's the dad's name? Ed Flynn are just like, so willing to give everybody else the benefit of the doubt, except for, you know, these two people. And
I think there's a sense of they blame her for what happened to him in the accident. That it's like you leaving is what sent him on the pathway that led to his alcoholism, that led to him getting behind.
I don't know if the father ever interacts with her, but that's probably because the mother's still very much doting on the boy. But that would make sense why she would hate the person who she believes caused.
And especially like any mother who's going to dote on their son that heavily is going to look at any other female that could be taking that son's attention away from the mother as you're the enemy.
Yeah.
Well, and to put it in a negative way too,
ways to make you the enemy if I have to.
And beyond that, right? Like she's as far as everybody knows, she's with child and she's not married and all this stuff, and that's a big no-no, right? Because again, the parents are still very religious, very traditional, right? All that makes sense. It's all subtext, but it's there.
Yeah. Then afterwards, the three, Mildred, Sarah and
Erin
decide they're like, we're gonna F off. We got to go to the mainland.
We got to get off this fucking island.
We need
because Riley said run.
Yeah,
Riley said run. Oh man, and I was like, ooh, they're gonna go to the mainland. They're gonna bring back an army.
Yeah. And then they go to the boats, and they're like, where the fuck's the boat?
This is when the episode started to turn my stomach.
This is where a Stephen King novel starts. The way I feel is like, oh, this is the horror now because there's no fucking way off the island.
Yeah, because previous episodes we'd seen that either Bev or the father has gotten, the mayor or what's that other dude's name, beard guy,
Sturge.
When they meet at the dock,
to do different things around the island, right? And it just they're sort of like the lackeys, and then we finally see Sturge at the boats being like, well, the boats aren't working right now.
Okay. Ferries got called in this afternoon. No one ever takes them in the afternoon, so they won't be back.
You're leaving in the afternoon? Tomorrow. You're going to miss Mass. That's weird. Fuck.
What are you doing on the boats? Oh, just repairs on all of them.
All of the boats.
All the preparations for the midnight mass.
Yeah, it's when your heart starts like just getting lower in your chest.
Yeah. Because at this point,
no,
I had pretty much I think a lot of us had probably pretty much figured out what was going to happen in Easter Mass. And all of this little build up in this episode, and especially that goddamn candlelit walk when they're all singing.
When they start
I started to just visibly shake because I knew what was coming, and it was just I'll take a second. The music in this, the way that they do all those harmonic hymns, singing over top of everything, is eerie enough as is, but I think if you go back and watch the show again, knowing everything that happens and hearing those same hymns, it is just going to gut punch you even harder.
And right before they started the thing, they turned off the tower, right? They turned off.
Yeah, they cut all the cell phone
power.
They cut power, and then they shut down the cell tower as well.
Well, they were going to shut the cell tower down. Then he's like, "Oh, don't shut it down yet, because if we shut the cell tower down now, someone's going to know what's going on. Let's wait and do it later."
And they say the mainland's 80 miles, right?
130 either way, or something like that.
It's just enough that you're like, nobody's fucking rowing that.
No. They even say that in the episode when I think the son is like, why don't we take the canoe? And they're like, there's no way a canoe's not going to make it.
Yeah. It would if you could somehow row for fucking 8 hours straight, right? And you're not going to. You're going to be exhausted.
Yeah.
So they do their eerie walk to the church. And this is the moment when Monsignor Pruitt reveals himself to everyone, right?
Yes.
Because he's like, you know what?
Yes.
I said I've been Father Joe or Father Paul or whatever. I gotta get that right one day.
It doesn't matter.
And he's like, no, I'm actually Monsignor Pruitt the whole time, and we're gonna do this miracle. And he gets Bev to get a volunteer and a cup.
No, he calls Sturgis up.
He calls Sturgis up and gets the
cup. It was already preordained that Sturgis was going to be the first one.
Now we should maybe set the scene a little bit. Everybody in town, but those three. Actually, no, those three women come.
No, everybody comes. Everybody is there, even
including the sheriff and his son.
His son agrees.
The sheriff the whole time has been like, "I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this."
And his son's like, "You got to do this for me. Come on, just do it for me this one time." And he's like, "All right, I'm bringing my fucking gun."
No. As far as we know, he doesn't have a gun.
That's true.
He does say he doesn't have a gun.
But we see in the back of the congregation, or in the back of the church, and that Bev has lined up all these plastic cups and that Jonestown style.
God, that scene too. Just that shot of all the cups.
So many cups, and then the poison right at the end.
Yeah.
And as Monsignor Pruitt is talking, you see a couple people like, oh yeah, I believe that you're Monsignor Pruitt. And then there's a couple people like Riley's parents, and then a couple other people. They're just like, that seems pretty fucking weird, isn't it? It's pretty weird. And then they bring out Sturge and the cup, and he starts dying in front of them, and they just start freaking out. And the other people are like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? That's
everybody's freaking out at the part where he's dying, and even because the sheriff is like, you can't fucking right, because the sheriff's like, you can't fucking kill somebody.
Yeah.
And then they do.
Not only that, but we get to meet the angel.
Oh yeah, did that happen?
Yeah.
With that same? Oh,
Yeah.
It's the sheriff gets up and tries to take his son and go out, and then as they're like walking to the back of the church, the angel's standing there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fucking creepy. And then
Like
they hold him
the
down.
robe, like the garment on and everything, like walking casually down the procession.
Was he
This was the moment where this is the moment where I actually did start to question. I'm like, okay, is it actually vampires, or are they telling a story where it's actually an angel? Because these vampires like kind of following.
It's one of those things. It's like if you read everything, the first demons are fallen angels, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, is it an angel? But like, I can show you. Like, I have a book that actually has like how they describe angels in the Bible, and it's like 37 wings around a fire that's got 13 eyes, and it's like. And like they say
and stuff.
Yeah, and they say it a bunch of the show. It's like, Monsignor Pruitt just hammers that home where he's like, every time somebody sees an angel in the Bible, they say, "Be not afraid." And I'm like, that's because that person was on fucking acid.
Yeah.
Like Moses saw a burning bush.
There was a lot of peyote going around back then.
Yeah, a lot of DMT happening.
Yeah.
There's something I was gonna say about the angel, and I totally forgot it. Fuck.
Does it show its wing? Does it do like the wing thing?
It does it at the end.
He gets up on the altar and then like spreads the wings out just to kind of like solidify its an angel.
How does a devout Catholic go, that's fine?
Because
that's fine. That's okay. Because that's worshiping a false idol.
Yeah.
But that's
even if it's an angel, it's a false idol. You don't do that, right?
But they're not
I know.
But they're not worshiping the angel. The angel is nothing more than a symbol that justifies their faith.
Right, but it very clearly obfuscates Jesus on the cross when it does that, right? It's going, no, look at me, not the actual thing. It's saying, look at me, and that's...
Plus, it's giving its blood, not Jesus's blood, right? There's something like, as a Catholic, you're not gonna, you shouldn't cross. I guess you shouldn't cross any of these lines. That's a weird line.
Yeah.
This point in the series is so confusing. It must be so confusing for everybody at that point in the series, because not only do we get like they've witnessed a miracle that a girl who was paralyzed gets up, walks. Everybody must realize at some point that they are getting younger, and they can't explain why, and it has all connected to the church. So
and then they see a man come back to life, which to me would just be like, well, he just clearly faked his death.
If
you're in that moment, you're like, well, the guy just coughed up some blood. That doesn't mean it's real.
To me, that's where everybody. That's where everybody.
He does end up feeding. Yeah.
To me, that's the point where everybody kind of like fell in. It's like the angel was one thing, seeing that was one thing, but that was more shocking for everyone. But seeing him come back, and especially after like the priest is like, this is going to be scary, but you're going to see something that you won't believe, but when you see it, you will be a believer.
But I don't think everyone believed it at that point.
No, but I think it's when Sturgis gets up that's suddenly when everyone starts going like, holy shit, give me that. Like,
I think that's where the line was drawn, but I don't think everyone was there, because a lot of people were just like, fuck no, I'm not gonna go through death to do this crazy shit that I don't know what's
no, and a lot of them were slow. Like Allie was the first one after Sturgis to be like, sad. That was heartbreaking when he looks at his father and just says like, I choose God, and drinks like, oh my God.
It's like, guess what? Your father also chose God. God damn it!
It's the same one.
I have a friend who is like a practicing Christian, not cat. He's like Anglican or something. He's in the States, and I make a lot of jokes about religion, but I say Christians, and when I mean Catholics, and he gets like upset because he's Christian. And I talked to him about, because I got him to watch the show, and he loved it.
Yeah,
and I was like, it drives me so insane, because it happens a lot in the Catholic Church where there's a lot of hypocrisy, right?
100%.
And that's what you get a lot in this show. It's like all those worst characters are like, yeah, I'm a Catholic. And it's like, okay, but you don't live by any of those tenets.
Mm-hmm. Well, just looking at what's going on in Canada, right? Like with all the Indigenous schools or the graves and
like
stuff.
Residential schools.
Oh, and my God.
Just the years and years of the Catholic bishops, like that's our main head of the church in Canada.
It's a district manager for the church.
Yeah, and for years they were like, you know what? Yeah. That happened in the past. We can't apologize because we weren't there. I was like, just fucking apologize. Like,
it's
seriously.
Not like it's like
it's so endemic.
Do I personally apologize for someone else owning slaves? Not necessarily. Do I apologize? Do I think it's terrible? Do I apologize for like a group owning slaves? Yes. As a white person, yes. I apologize. That's awful, and I wish it never happened. If you were, but the thing is, you're an organization that still exists, and that has benefited from all that stuff. You're still around,
and it's not
your
like
legacy is still there.
It's not like they just stopped. Like they stopped many years ago with
the last
schools.
One closed in the 90s.
97. Like I was in school still, in high school when they were still there. Like I could be one of those people if I was Indigenous, right? We could all pretty much have gone to those schools at our ages, which is crazy to think about.
I mean, like I can tell you in my family, my grandfather, when he was a child, he spent most of his childhood in a Japanese internment camp in Indonesia. Like people say bad things about internment camps in Canada, and it's like I want you to understand that like that happened everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's bad everywhere. Like I have his he wrote like a memoir. I know he didn't talk about it a lot, but he talked about it a little bit.
Yeah.
Like the kind of stuff where you're putting sawdust in your food so you feel more full.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
My grandparents were in the Philippines during the Japanese occupation of World War II. And my grandparents were fighting they were part of the American forces. So they were already like under enough stress, but being sort of, I don't want to say spies, but they were undercover, I guess. Working for them. Oh man, like the stories that they had to deal with it's impossible to process. Like I don't know.
So we get all these people in this church who are like, I'm fine with all that, and I'm fine with all this other BS, right?
No.
Like
and then the other people are backing up, which is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Because you can make the groups.
Say real quick. Are you guys familiar with the Magdalene sisters?
No.
It was a convent in Ireland that basically, like, any girls who were considered wayward girls, who got pregnant or that while unwed and that were basically sent to this convent to live out their lives. Their babies were adopted off, to like rich people, and they were put to work at a laundromat for the rest of their lives. They could never leave. If they tried to leave, and that they were usually brought back by local authorities, and that, and the nuns were brutal to them. For many women, their only escape was like suicide, and that. And this convent continued on through till the 90s. Again,
the homes were maintained by individual religious orders in the Roman Catholic Church.
You'll
in
have
Ireland.
to send it to me because I would love to read about them.
I'll send you the wiki link right now, Eric.
Awesome. So
we did get a little off topic, but I think it is like all this stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's not like that isn't a factor when the show's being written. When you're watching it, you understand all these things. Well, I hope most people understand all these things when they're watching it. There's a history of people putting out fucking Kool-Aid and then people dying.
Yeah,
like we have. It's so weird because we get to like blame the Catholic Church in this show because that's the way it's being presented, but it's the same cult behavior as however many cults we've seen in the United States and Canada of people being brainwashed and being like, it's already an island. It's already an isolated community, right? And that's usually like, it's people who feel like they don't belong somewhere else. They turn to something else and then it ends up corrupting and it ends with their death.
Yeah. It's that ultra zealot way of thinking for religion. And the fact that this point, Pruitt was like, you know what? I've been feeding you this angel's blood, and this is the final step. And that's just like them being like, or at least half of them are like, well, I guess this is the step we have to take.
It's so weird. Like half of them drank, and then like half, the half that was, said, what the fuck is happening here, and that they end up being food.
It's a TV show or a series or whatever, but like in that moment, you're like, does one person not go, wait, this is poison?
Mm-hmm.
You want me to drink? You could kill. Wait, you're telling me you could kill me anyway, and you want me to go out with rat poison?
And
it's because it wasn't so much that like we want you to go with rat poison. It was more so of like we want you to do it to yourself. We need you to be
willing.
Oh
yeah, because then Caine didn't kill anybody, right?
Yeah. And as soon as people start dying, the sheriff shoots the angel, right? And then
first he shoots Monsignor.
No. That's Mildred.
He shoots Monsignor in the head. Oh no, that's
Mildred,
true. He
shoots him.
Does it really?
Mildred shoots him in the head, and then the angel grabs her and scoops her out there.
Yeah. But before he shoots the angel, because people start dying, he gets taken down by all the people, right? And then Mildred picks up the gun and pop.
Yeah. It's just this whole sequence was just so beautifully shot. Where like in every sequence, in every scene, like in every single shot, you see like there's a person in the background drinking the cup,
and other people going like,
who's already drank and is dying next to two people who are like, "What the fuck is going on? Get the fuck out of here!" Like in every shot, there's like all of those perspectives all going on in the foreground and background. And it was just like it just puts you in that chaos.
Also, Sturge locks the door after.
Yes, they do.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
I want to jump on that point, Brent, because that scene is shot at the height of the COVID pandemic in North America, when everybody was like realizing how dangerous it was when everything was shutting down.
Yeah.
And because I'm a fan of Rahul Kohli. I watch, he's on podcasts and stuff, and I watch him, and I follow him on Twitter. And like, there's two guys on top of him, and they're there like for the whole scene, right? Mm. And they're packed in this church, which is obviously a set, but they've packed all these people into this tiny little area. No one got sick. Like nothing bad. Luckily, knock on wood, nothing bad happened. They were, like I said earlier, they were like the model for how to film during the pandemic. And I've said before about other shows during the pandemic. It's like, unfortunately, filming was impacted by the pandemic. It, the whole plot lines are thrown out, like in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But we can't judge the show that they tried to make, or they wanted to make. We got to judge it on the show that we got. And in this case, right, we got something phenomenal. And it's like, so we know we can make good stuff during the pandemic. We know we can make phenomenal TV and movies, even though there's all these safety precautions happening.
Yeah. And you see like how close everyone gets, because as people start resurrecting, that's when they start getting the bloodlust and start eating people. And that's when people start fucking freaking out that haven't drank.
And it's all shot. Like it's not like it's like tight in so you can't see what's happening in the background. Like there's a lot of things happening in this show.
It's like watching that church fight scene from Kingsman.
Yeah.
Destroys everyone. Like,
except I think a lot of that was green screen.
Yeah, I think that was green screen. But this one, obviously, they're all in that enclosed space.
Yeah,
you see who is it? Erin, Hassan, Lisa, Sarah, Warren, and Annie.
It's the parents and the younger son.
Lisa.
Right. Lisa.
Mildred's gone.
Sheriff.
Mildred's gone.
Yeah. Lisa, Sheriff, Erin, and Sarah.
So,
but the father doesn't make it, though.
He doesn't quite make it now. But as they go out, Erin and Bev's in the back hiding, which is so telling for her character, because she's the one who didn't. She's the one who hasn't drank yet.
Oh my God!
That was the moment where I was just like, that fully realized her character right there. It's like you can spew it out there for all to believe, but you don't really believe it.
Yeah,
you just want everyone else to believe what you want.
She wants people to think that she's this uber righteous person that's so proper and religious, and but she's really just the fucking worst. Just the fucking worst.
It's worse for her.
Erin takes care of it.
Well,
there's this delusion that they have people like that have a way of believing that God has chosen them.
Yeah.
Whether they can talk themselves into it or whether it's just mental illness.
And she even says it out herself, right? Because she's like, you know what, you kill me, I'll be back in 5 minutes, so it's fine.
Yeah, she's all
and then she shoots and go, well, we bought ourselves 5 minutes.
I love that as soon as she shoots her. All right, we've got 5 minutes.
I cheered when that happened.
There's maybe like, I think that and when Riley dies, I think are the two most badass things that happens in the entire show. Like, because Mike Flanagan doesn't really do badass moments, right? Like he doesn't. It's not like one hero rises to the occasion. It's it's usually a group effort. And
we should mention at this point too that we're now into episode 7.
No, we're not. We're still in 6. That's the end.
No,
of 6.
the Bev getting shot happens at the beginning of 7.
No, it's the end of 6, because then she comes back and tells Sturge to open the door because the father's sitting there, just thing, and he's like, but the monster
6 and 7 are just straight back to back.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah.
There's Hellboy #5 in Canada. Fuck yourself.
Well, I mean, we might as well jump into this is the ultimate episode, Book 7, Revelation. Night falls on Crockett Island as a tight-knit group of rebels take refuge where they can and forge a plan to control the chaos. So essentially what happens is the doors are opened and all these ravenous, vampirelings are going to run through the town, and anybody who doesn't come to church, they're going to get their door kicked in.
And eaten.
And killed. But
Bev also says you can turn
right.
people, but don't make it everyone. Just turn to people that you think are righteous or
she wants only the worthy to be to be chosen.
Which is funny to me because it's only people who were at church are really who she wants, right? Yeah. Like she doesn't want anybody outside of there.
Well, yeah, because there's that moment later on where Sturgis is vouching for the guy, no, this guy was always good to me, just because he didn't come to church.
But he's not our kind of person.
He's but he didn't come to church.
Yeah.
So kick him out.
So they're kind of faced with the quandary between we can't get off the fucking island, right? There's no boats, there's no ferry, there's no power, there's no cell signal. What the fuck are we gonna do? So they go to hide.
Yeah, and they tell the kids to go into a boat and just get off island.
And just get into the water so that they don't... Yeah.
Well, they go to Erin's house first. Yeah. They go to Erin's house first. Because then it's Sturgis and Bev show up and start throwing the Molotovs in, and then that's when they're kids get out the back, and then everyone else goes out. And
the mom says,
Erin,
Bev and I need to have a word.
The mom gets
something
That's another bad.
When she says that, I've had something that I wanted to say to her for a long time.
And it really does feel like your mom's hated this woman since she was they went to school together. She's always hated her, but she's no, she's a good woman, so she's never lashed out at her. And then when she does, oh my god, it's so good. And she's so brilliant because she says she's whatever she's gonna say. She says her piece. And then Bev's well, that's not going to stop us. And she's cool. And then she just cuts her own throat, and they can't help but drink her blood.
Yeah.
So she buys everybody way more time so that they can get away.
And as the building's burning, and they're done feeding, they're you know what? Let's burn the rest of the the island because then we'll have the one safe spot, and anyone who was turned that we don't want, we can just kick out because there's only a certain amount of space. Bev is such an evil bitch. Oh my god.
Oh my god. Yeah. I love that everything she wants crumbles to dust.
Literally.
Oh.
Yeah.
One of the cool things that happen. Yeah, everybody scatters. One of the cool things, the kids get separated, and they end up in the lair, basically, of the angel, because there's just a pile of corpses, and they're very lucky as it's kind of ignoring them.
It's such a cool moment. They're shooting at him, and he's fuck it, whatever.
No, he's shooting.
I'm eating.
It's that fever. It's that thing. It's the fever, pitch of with the bloodlust and that. I mean,
because you see it again later.
Yeah, you do, and you kind of see it at the at the conclusion of it, and that everybody just kind of wakes up. It's almost from a drunken haze, and they start to look at what they've done.
Yeah, it's when I get a bowl of wings. I just oh yeah, fuck yeah.
And
I'm afterwards how did I eat 40 wings?
What did I do?
Only 40, Eric.
I'm trying.
Only 40.
I'm 40. I need to stop doing that. But yeah, so the kids are in the lair and they start shooting them. They're well, this ain't happening. So they take their boat gas and they start chucking on the building, which is amazing. And then they do that thing that doesn't actually work, is they make a little line of gasoline, pop down the fire, and it explodes the house, which is awesome
and that just makes the angel fly away.
Yeah, and it just adds to the fire because the wind. I guess.
Yeah. We totally skipped. Oh no, because what's happening? Because they split up with the kids. Because now the adults go, we're gonna go burn the boats.
Yeah, because the adults realize we're not getting out of here alive. We're done for. This is over. But we got to make sure that we know that their plan, because they talk about how Sturgis was working on the boats. Look how he only pulled out those couple wires that can be put right back in. Their plan is to get on the boats and go to the mainland
and spread
it.
let's
be that army.
Ripley going, hey, we got to contain the alien, right? We can't let it get to Earth, otherwise all of Earth is done.
Airlock that shit.
Nuke it from orbit's the only way to be sure.
That's right.
So I guess as they go out, they all end up back at the church, right? Because that's sort of what happens. The kids get on the boat, they get off, and then the rest that are sort of lingering.
Well, the adults, after they burn their boats, they realize, okay, well, if the entire island's burning, we can go burn the last, if we burn the church down, and the rec center down, they've got nowhere to hide, which I find very strange. It's like there's no woods that they can, like, I guess the island's like there's just, you can't hide it under a blanket.
They should have burned the church when they were leaving. The first time. I think I was texting Hawk. I was like, why don't they just knock over all these fucking candles? Like, why not?
And that is what happened, though, because when the what's her name? The woman's mother, the doctor's mother, Mildred. When she comes back, they obviously there's a big revelation between her and the Monsignor, where the doctor is, their daughter, and he broke all his vows and all this stuff.
They had gone together. They'd known each other for a long time, and when her husband went off to World War II, I assume, is when they decided to. Although World War II seems like a long time, I assume
probably the first Gulf War,
Korean War. Well, Annabeth Gish is 40, so it'd have been the 70s. Vietnam,
maybe.
Yeah. She's not 40.
Yeah, she is.
No,
she was born in 1971.
She's like 50.
Yeah,
because I remember she played a teenager in Hiding Out, one of my favorite movies from the 80s, and that was in 87. And she was playing like a 16-year-old. So,
well, she was about 16 then,
and she was in X-Files. Remember that?
Yes, she was. Yep,
I remember
the bad years.
So this is where I'm going to call back to earlier when I said that I had some opinions, but I wanted to wait until this episode.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where I think we're seeing, you were questioning about, like the bloodlust amongst people and like why Riley had to kill himself. Like, could he not contain it? And why certain people seem to be able to do it better. And I think it has to do with, this is where we start to see who the really good, devout, good people are. Because the ones like the parents who, when they have that conversation, when they meet up and the father's like, have you eaten? No, I haven't either. I'm not going to. I can't do that.
Yep.
And we see that like they have it in them to fight that if they want, if they truly believe it's wrong. And we see others like the mayor, who is quick to give in.
I think that's what also
like, I'm just going to do it. And I think that that's where they're basically showing that, like, despite this disease, there are still good people. There are still good people who want to do good things.
And I believe that's what Monsignor wanted to do, right? Because he wanted the doors to lock, because he wanted to talk to them about all these things, and he wanted to go through it with their faith.
And whatnot. That's evident when Mildred and him get back together, and especially after like towards the end. But like we see that like when he basically is like, Bev's bastardized my message. This is not what I wanted. Like, I didn't want this chaos. I wanted us all to come together. I wanted us to be a family, to be a unit. And she's ruined everything.
Well, there's a great thing where he goes, it wasn't supposed to be about me. It wasn't supposed to be about my vision. It was, like, that's not what that's not what Catholicism is about. It's not about the individual.
It's about God. Oh,
it's about the mass. The mass.
And I was like, oh, it took you, the priest, all these episodes to figure that out? That sucks for you.
Yeah.
Because like that's why everything gets twisted, right? Is because he focuses too much on this whole time he's been focusing on one person, and what he wants. And he's like, oh, I can finally have that thing I want. I can finally get what I deserve.
Yeah,
because I've been good this whole time.
Yeah,
I've been good, so I get what it's like. That's not what it's about. It's not.
And I think that's ultimately what the message of the show is that like you look at the people who all of their motives were about the greater good are the people who like go out on a good note in the show, whereas all the people who have selfish motivations are seen as the villains.
It makes me wonder, like, if Mildred had come more coherent earlier in the series, would the priest have gone that far, like far zealot, Like,
no, probably not. She would have pulled him back.
Yeah, probably not.
Because,
but then that's one of the reasons why Bev wanted to keep him contained and keep him hidden away from everyone except for like who she felt were the devout believers.
Yeah, she's a real gaslighting bitch.
Yeah. Her whole thing is it got to a point where she was using the priest as a tool. Like, no, you go out there and you do mass, you get them all riled up, and then you get the fuck back here and you shut the fuck up and we hide you away again.
Yeah, we have to talk about Bev's confrontation with the sheriff, because that happens at this point too, and it's such a good like look at how we can have these altruistic like far right Christians. You know, they say they believe like, oh yeah, we respect your religion, but at the end of the day, they look at a Muslim person, they full on think they're a terrorist already. Like,
at that point in the series, and that she knew she had no more masks. She didn't have to wear a mask anymore. That veil of politeness and correctness that she approached him with, while also showing like her, subtly showing disdain. She just let it all out at that point. You terrorist.
So ugly.
It's kind of funny because the show ends up closing very quickly for how long it took to build up to that point, and how quickly like she and all these other people get their comeuppance. But you could also, if you stretch this out and they don't, get fucked over, basically, the vampires.
It turns into such a different story.
Well, not only that, it's not going to be what she wants anyway. Because as soon as everybody realizes, like, wait a minute, we're all equal here. We're all vampires. What the fuck? Why are we listening to Bev? When you give everyone power, even Sturge was like, man, I don't know if I want to listen to her anymore. Like, she's being mean for no reason.
You could see it on his face from like as early as episode 5, where he's all of a sudden kind of looking at her like, oh, you're getting a little bit too crazy here for me, lady. Like, this is supposed to be about him, not you.
Like it's never gonna go the way she wants, because she's gonna lose that control once they all realize they have just as much power as her. Because that's what she's held over them this whole time, right? Is like, she's like, the heart of this community is this church, and I have a lot of sway, in this church, but it's all gone. She traded it all for
the nookie.
That, and people started, like very early into it, and that, like, with everything that happened after the mass and that, like, she started selecting, like, she selected one guy to like not come in with them to the rec center, and that when he started like kind of thinking about exactly what he had just done, he's like, I think I just killed my wife.
He's breaking down like, I just killed my wife. I think I killed my son.
Yeah.
And he keeps crying about what he's become. And
then Bev orders Sturge
to come to church.
Yeah.
He never came to church. Be gone.
And then right afterwards is when he kills Sarah, right? Just after that.
Sturge?
Sturge, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that scene happens.
Because Sarah dies in the church, and that Sturge shoots her.
Oh no!
He goes back to the church, and then when he walks in, he sees her pouring the gasoline around.
Well, but he goes back to the church because he sees Sturge and Beverly turning away people, and he's like, "The church is for everyone. It's for all." And he goes back and he sees his daughter pouring gasoline.
It's not a house of God if not everyone's welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he sees his daughter pouring gasoline everywhere, and he's like, "Good." And I thought that was another. There's so many great little moments right at the end of this series.
And he even tells her like, this is how you get out. Like, this is how I want you to get out afterwards.
So. We'll take care of the rest. I'm very proud of you. Yeah. He straight up shoots her. And
that's a hard moment, because you're like, oh man, oh no.
And he's like, but she was trying to burn the church. I was like, you didn't have to shoot her. Yeah. Fuck
yeah. It's also that like everybody's gonna come back anyway, right? Yeah. But she didn't take.
No, she didn't participate in any of the sacrament.
So his daughter is gone.
He gets down and he tries to get her to drink, and she keeps spitting it back out.
Yeah.
Oh god.
It's one of those few badass moments we get. Yeah. Right? Oh
man. After that is when, Erin. We find out that Erin's also burning the rec center.
Yeah. So, the sheriff is burning the rec center. And then Bev shoots, or Sturge or someone shoots, right? And then she calls him a terrorist and stuff. And then she says all this stuff, and he gets his little moment where he goes, I wasn't the only one in there. And then Bev comes out, and she's like, oops. And then she lights it up and everybody like freaks out. But then the angel comes and starts getting her. And it's this really weird moment where she starts cutting its wings, like kind of gently, like just cutting its wings. And in my mind, the science in me is going like, yeah, I don't know if you're aware, but its wingspan is not enough to support its body weight anyway, so it's not going to matter. But
but yeah, it's badass that she's cutting it while she's just.
And then it like she's cutting it, and it finally is like, wait a minute, this is a lot of wounds. Maybe this is a problem. She grabs its head and pulls it back so it keeps drinking from her. Ooh, the ladies in the show are real fucking badass.
And this is when she starts her monologue about death and how it's
not the
Riley
end.
and it's part her, and it's all about the experience.
It's like
I guess it was a beautiful.
It's not just that; it's about almost like a return. It's like one end energy, turning back into another.
Yeah, returning to the
which is a lovely way. Lovely way to think of death.
A star had to explode for you to exist. By the way, because we don't get heavy minerals or metals without a star exploding. So our star is a second generation star. You don't have all the things in you without that. So that's pretty fucking cool, man. You're not just made of stardust, you're made of exploded stardust.
I can't remember, but the sheriff's son backs him up. Like, what does he do? I can't remember because he takes him away, but he does something to.
I think he lights the lighter and throws.
He's the one who lights it on fire.
He lights up the rec center
on fire.
Oh
yeah.
Another badass moment.
And then they go off to go pray.
Yeah. He prays with his father as Bev tries to dig her way into the beach like a fucking
love that
ostrich.
Shot.
Oh my god!
That shot, just that panic, like
when you're like, wow, you are such a coward. Oh
and at
my
the
god!
End, and I don't know if anyone noticed that at the end, she is the only one who screams when she burns.
Yes.
Well, everyone else is singing, and they just
everyone
sort of
else
stop.
singing "Near My God" to Thee, but then she's the only one who screams, and I love that, just that little touch.
So I had a friend who was annoyed because the two kids were out in the canoe, and the whole town's on fire and everything, and the sun's coming through. Which I don't know if the sun would come through that much with that much smoke, but he didn't like that. She at the end basically she goes, I can't feel my legs, meaning her paralysis is back, meaning the stuff's
out of her
blood's
body.
no longer.
To me, that meant that the snapping of the wings that vampire died.
Yeah,
that was the moment we know that vampire died.
We know that in the sun it just goes, right? Like so that it doesn't work anymore. And he's like, I don't know, but it works so fast or whatever. I'm like, she's in the sun. She doesn't and he's like, yeah, but she's healed or whatever. I'm like, it's magic at this point. Like it's not just science, it's magic.
Also, they ruined this for Brent. Mike Flanagan said that was her with the blood coming out of her system. He doesn't want to know he doesn't want people to know whether the vampire made it to the mainland or not. But like the blood is out.
So we're saying that it's ambiguous if the vampire made it or not. The girl had her period.
It definitely didn't make them. It had to fly like 100 miles. In the sun.
Oh yeah,
like, it's not going to make it.
Yeah, I didn't think so either. But I'm just saying
I was worried it was going to be like in True Blood, where it's like if you drink fairy blood, vampires can go in sunlight. I'm like, I wonder if this vampire, if it drinks enough blood, if it can like whatever. But we're not going to get a sequel anyway.
No.
I don't think Mike Flanagan would be interested in that.
I hope they don't do a sequel, but I like that he uses the same actors over and over again because I'd like to see these people.
Yeah.
Apparently, in his films Hush from 2016 and Gerald's Game, there are Easter eggs for this show in those
he did
two
Gerald's
movies.
Game?
Yeah.
Oh,
I told you he said that this is like the first thing he like started writing, and it's like just now getting made, basically.
I had no idea. I knew he did Hush. I didn't know he did Gerald's Game. I love both of those.
I guess
movies.
there are books that say Midnight Mass in there as Easter eggs.
I'm really excited because I feel like we didn't get enough Zach Gilford, who played Riley Flynn, and he is in Flanagan's next. I forgot the word, but production. I need vampire blood to remember again.
Midnight Club,
which I got really excited about. I was like, "Oh, I loved the Midnight Club games," but that's not what it is.
Oh,
it's a group of people who, people who basically it's like, "Are You Afraid of the Dark?" It sounds like where a bunch of people come together and tell scary stories. But a bunch of people are coming back in that, and that'll probably be out next year, I think.
Yeah. So nice. 2022. It has Samantha Sloyan, who played Bev. Zach Gilford, who played Riley, Igby Rigney, who played his younger son, Matt Bydel. This is like the whole cast of, this is pretty much the whole cast.
Yeah.
He does a thing a year. Like he does it like a TV series like this, which is 7 episodes, or he did in 2019 was Dr. Sleep.
He's cast Heather Langenkamp in this new one. She was the final girl from the Freddy movies.
Oh yeah, Nancy. That's hilarious.
I think he's gonna become like the standout horror guy, because he doesn't do slashers. He doesn't do like his stuff is very thought provoking.
Yeah,
it has very profound moments.
Yeah,
even though like I didn't care for some of his other stuff as much. Like I love Midnight Mass.
Me too.
But I think he's gonna be like this huge fucking star, and in my opinion, he already is. And he'll be able to make whatever the hell he wants to make because clearly he knows what he's doing.
I love that this is a vampire show that doesn't play the importance of being a vampire as the most important thing. Like the overtones about how religion is in our society and how people use that religion as a weapon at times is the more important theme in this, and that it makes me want to look at Haunting at Hill House and Bly Manor and see what those shows are about, and it's not just about ghosts apparently. So
that was the biggest thing going into this series for me, was like the hesitation I had for starting it was I didn't know what it was. Because I looked up like some articles about it and like reviews and that, and no one went into detail about like what it is that makes this a horror. I didn't know what the horror element of it was, other than what everyone was saying about religion, it being very heavy in religion. And that made me not want to see it because I'm like, I don't like that. Like, that's not the kind of horror that I want to watch. So when it turned out that it was like vampires and it was that kind of like mythology and also those parallels, like I'm so happy. Like that pulled me in even more, that I was like, oh, thank God there is actually some kind of mystery element to this that is going to pull me in, so it's not just me being beat over the head with religion for 7 hours.
I mean, because I'm the one who told everybody to start watching this. I think Hawk was the only one, because we were on that podcast, and I was like, I was here to talk about Midnight Mass.
Yeah, I know. That was our yum for
Hawk had been trying to get me to watch it for like a couple of days. I was like,
I only watched it, and I only watched Bly Manor because Rahul Kohli was in it. And I only watched this because Rahul Kohli was back, and he was like, his words were like, "This is the best thing I've ever worked on. This is all this blah blah blah." And I'm like, I didn't like the totality of Bly Manor, but I will give this a shot. And I'm glad I did. I'm glad it departs from his other work. It's still obviously like it's the way he does horror, suspense, and all that stuff, but it's not. It doesn't feel like anything else he's made.
No,
like, the story is
the human angle to it is, that these people who live these complex lives and stories and that, and it's like they all seem to be already coming from a place of hurt before they delve into these supernatural situations.
Well, for sure. Like we talked, the town is collapsing in on itself, right? There's just a malaise over everything that's going on. They've lost their spiritual leader, right? Like they've got this. Because they even call Riley the prodigal son, and he goes out and something terrible happens, right? So everything about this place is just like nothing good happens on Crockett Island. Nothing good's ever going to happen. And then all the cats fucking die.
Yeah. Even just saying that, like every single character in the show had something traumatic happen to them that like put them in this place of despair. Like there's not a single character that didn't have some kind of traumatic event like leading into this series where you're not like sympathetic for everybody on those levels.
Which is why I think all these characters feel so real.
Yeah.
Because everybody has trauma in their life. Like there's nobody out there walking where they haven't had something bad happen to them. It may be, may not seem as bad as some other things, but everybody's experienced trauma in some way.
Yeah.
And it shapes who you are.
Mm-hmm. this might be the best thing I've watched this year.
Without a doubt, it is for me.
Oh, hands down, best series I've watched this year.
It's going to be unfortunate that I'm going to say I like this more than Dune, probably. Right? Like
that's gonna be hard.
Like,
yeah.
Like how can you talk? Like this is phenomenal.
And Dune has a lot that there's a
and
lot.
If you somehow got through like what is it, like 2.5 hours into this podcast and you haven't watched Midnight Mass, what are you doing?
And there's so many themes we didn't even get to touch on in this.
Yeah, we didn't even we've only hit on like half of what the show has to offer.
It's so deep and it's so well acted and so well shot. We didn't talk about how they framed certain shots or how they the production design in this show is fucking incredible. Like
none of the CGI is like out of place. It's all it's all serves the shots.
Yeah.
Oh my god, this show is so good. I don't even know what else to say. Like, do we want to give a rating? Because it's 10 for me.
Fucking, it's
10.
It's an 11. It's an 11 out of 10.
Yeah, if I could give
10 Eucharist.
10 Eucharist.
I can't remember the last time that I have had like a visceral body reaction to watching something the way that I did watching episode 6 of this show. Like I was physically trembling at the end of it. And probably for at least 10 or 15 minutes afterwards. And not just because of what I watched, but because of what I knew was coming and that anticipation and that build up and that payoff. It was just like, it was an absolute masterpiece.
Like, oh man. We're just sort of like, we're all sitting here just like, oh my god, we just spilled out everything we loved about the show without not doing every single thing.
I could keep going.
Yeah, we could. We could
but
talk
we're not.
No.
We're
it's like 20 minutes after 12.
Yeah,
there was one thing that I was.
We gotta. Unfortunately, we can't talk anymore about Midnight Mass tonight.
Well, it's after midnight, so
definitely go watch it. Definitely
thank you for joining us. Absolutely, go watch it. Go watch Dr. Sleep if you haven't already too. And if you like them, go check out his other stuff.
I'm probably going to start Hill House tonight.
Yeah,
good luck sleeping.
All of his stuff is currently on Netflix.
He's all about Netflix.
He's a Netflix person,
yeah. Anyway, thank you for watching Geeks with Kids. I forget how we sign off.
We might see you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We appreciate it. We'll probably be back next week, not just in 2 weeks, but I really want to talk about Dune when we see it. I'm going to try and see it this weekend. I think all of these guys are going to see it. Brent, I'd love you to watch it because you don't care about Dune.
I like being that counter perspective on some of these about like being the guy who does not know anything about it going into it. So. And I'd like to offer that perspective.
It's not a.
That's because you're a Harkonnen animal.
It's not a
because I'm working evenings for the next few weeks, so I want to take next Monday off.
It's like a 400, 500 page book, but
it's actually like a 190 page book if you get the original.
It's true, but they're gonna split it in half, right? And based on the numbers, it looks like they're gonna actually make a second one, so that's gonna be good.
They fucking better then.
So Brent, this is gonna end off on a cliffhanger, most likely, or at least a important thing that happens that we all know is going to happen. I don't know where
Eric, we gotta go, man.
All right, goodbye. Thank you for watching. We'll see you guys soon. Goodbye. No D&D this week. Bye. Well, that's it for us this week on Geeks with Kids. If you want to get a hold of us, you can send us an email at podcast@geekswithkids.ca. And don't forget to like us on Facebook at facebook.com/geekswithkids. Follow us on Twitter at geekswithkidscn. Check out our pics on Instagram at geekswithkids. And you can find all of this good stuff on our website at www.geekswithkids.ca. So if you like what you hear, why don't you hit that subscribe button and leave us a comment. This podcast can be found on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, YouTube, and your favorite podcasting app. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.